folks see too clear enough, certainly from the agency side. So this is the Environmental Protection Committee. It is March 18th. I'm Alice Blank, the chair of the committee, joined by Wendy Chapman, co-chair, and Hanny Meltzer, our tech person, who also happens to be the chair of the board. So wonderful trio up here. Thanks to those of you who could make it. There's quite a few number of people online. So we're going to take it away. Jordan Salinger, this is the Lower Manhattan Coastal Resiliency Update. And Jordan will start us off from the Mayor's Office of Private Environmental Justice, and we will then move right into Battery Park City Authority's update. And Jordan,
Great.
it's all you. Thank you. And please introduce yourself if you're presenting, who you are, what agency you're with, and such.
Please let me know when you want the slides started. We can launch the slides now. Hi, everyone. Jordan Salinger, Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. Thanks for having us tonight. If you haven't joined before, this is our lightning round of, and yeah, definitely an asterisk, because we do have a lot to cover tonight. But the format is kind of brief presentations across all the LMCR projects. Tonight is a little bit different. We'll be doing a deeper dive on the Battery Park City efforts. And so we will start with that. And so housekeeping question or request, maybe we allow Battery Park City to present, have questions, and then do the kind of final last batch of the rest of the projects and do questions at the end of those. Those are all briefer presentations, and so I think it makes a little bit more sense.
Terrific. That sounds great. Thanks, Jordan.
And with that, we'll launch into it. Just give kind of the briefest of background, because once again, we do have a lot to cover tonight. The next slide.
And just keep in mind, I am not always the fastest slider.
So I will do a brief update on LMCR, where things stand. And as mentioned, we will spend the bulk of our time initially going through the BPCA projects, the South and Northwest effort, then the Battery Coastal Resilience, the FIDI Seaport Master Plan, Seaport Coastal Resilience, and BMCR, Brooklyn Bridge to Montgomery Coastal Resilience. Next slide. So maybe a little small for those in the room, but the main takeaway here, we have $1.7 billion worth of capital projects that are advancing across Lower Manhattan. That's the BMCR project, the Seaport Coastal Resilience, the newest effort, the Battery Coastal Resilience at the tip of Manhattan, and then the two projects, the South and Northwest from Battery Park City. We also have another important effort that we usually spend quite a bit of time in this venue talking about. That's the Financial District and Seaport Climate Resilience Master Plan. It's a little different because it is a planning process. It is at an earlier stage, no less important. It is a major undertaking that helps support all these other efforts. But tonight we'll be spending a little bit less time on that one. Go to the next slide. Just to give you a sense of where we are, important milestone where we have roughly half of the projects now in construction, find ourselves in 2024. So that includes the BMCR project, Brooklyn Bridge to Montgomery Coastal Resilience, the South Battery Park City project, and now the Battery Coastal Resilience, all under construction. The Northwest project, which we'll be focusing on first tonight, rapidly advancing through design. Seaport Coastal Resilience milestone, where we are starting to advance design for that effort, and then be working for many years on the FIDI Seaport Master Plan. But I think that's important because I think this is all time where we're able to kind of shape the design as part of the larger community. And with that, I will hand it off to Battery Park City to talk about the Northwest project.
Thank you.
Okay, I will do an introduction and then, hi, everybody. My name is Claudia Filomena. I'm the Senior Director of Capital Projects at the Battery Park City Authority. I also lead our resiliency program along with our real property department. I'm joined tonight by Gwen Dawson, who I'm sure you all know, who's our Senior Vice President of Real Property. Kimberly Saul, who you also probably know, who's our AVP of Planning and Design. And Peter Gluss, who's from Arcadis, our Engineer of Record, and Lee Altman from SCAPE. We're also joined, as always, by Nick Sporto. Tonight, we wanted to take the opportunity to present to the board Some updates on reaches 2, 3, and 4. In this project, we call them reaches, but what we're really speaking about tonight is the North Esplanade of Battery Park City, the area in and around Rockefeller Park, excuse me, and the area in and around the ferry terminal, the Lily Pond, and 300 BC Street. We're also going to be coming next month to talk about Reach 1, which we call the area that crosses 9A into Tribeca, and also the North Cove Marina Brookfield Place area. So I'm going to hand it off to Peter, who's going to walk us through the presentation. Some of these things are sort of been in development since our last public meeting. A lot of them are things we'd like to get your feedback on, related to materials, planting palette, other items, and then some design refinements that have happened based on conversations that we've had with agency partners and also other stakeholders. So that's it. Peter?
Great.
Thanks. And thanks for having us. So sorry.
Hello, folks.
You
So,
have to speak quite loudly.
yes, so I'm gonna, is this good? So I'm gonna try to speak towards the owl, so if my voice projects through you, I apologize. So we have, a number of slides, many of them are very visual. So what I'll do is I'll try to, keep a good pace here. But if you wanna, dwell on a couple of them, please just reach out, let me know. We'll talk, as Claudia said, about reaches 2, 3, and 4. And, Claudia and Gwen, feel free, of course, and Lee as well, because a lot of this work Lee is deeply involved with. So let's go to reach 2. Next slide.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay. So from a design goal perspective, we have a lot of things that the team has been discussing, in particular, universal accessibility, maximizing the number of trees, protecting as many trees as possible, maintaining soil depths, free and clear pathways along the F1 itself. The material difference for a secondary path and occupable areas to create a sense of separation, which you can see in the graphics. And then, of course, then, an understanding of the seasons and how that Reach 2 sort of uniquely experiences the different seasons, because it's sort of differently hit by the sun because of the Stuyvesant High School. And so there's a lot of thought we put into about the different seasonality of that built environment. And of course, lots of considerations too about the high school itself.
And this is distinct from the primary goal, design goal
Which is-
for the resiliency of
Yes.
objectives.
Yes, I'm just.
Don't want to lose.
So this is an aerial of what we had shown in our 40% design package. And I'm just going to call attention to a couple of things here. In the 40% package, we had a curve at this transition. And we got a lot of feedback about the interplay that takes place here, particularly between the cyclists and the pedestrians. So we've tried to address that as we've thought about how to refine this design. Next slide. So a couple of things occurred. One of them is we adjusted this curvature so that it can be done without an additional pile in the waterway of HRBK, which is very important. So this now has a gentler angle. Next slide. And you can see how this plays itself out. Right? So we transition the angle a little bit to avoid the pile, but we maintain the balance of the curve and the feeling of the curve. Next slide. Sorry, I'm going to move through quick. You have the burden of clicking on that. So you can see here, this is how we're trying to respond to some of the feedback we received about the circulation issues. The primary concern is we don't want bikes to go on what is a pedestrian walk.
Can we just stop for a moment? I mean, the feedback you're talking about has come from the community, but it's also come from Hudson River Park Trust. And so we've been having ongoing conversations with them about design matters.
Right. So you can see the blue here is where we have the pedestrian circulation.
So this is Reach 1, right?
This is actually we call it Reach 2. This is the corner.
Can you do mind just for the public who don't know this intimately, just repeat the name of the area. So in this case, it's the North Esplanade of the Hudson River.
Yes.
With Route 9A, just so people
Sure, sure. Understood.
zero in.
And I'm just gonna pop in just to say, because we understood this was the bottom part of Reach One, which was the back of Stuyvesant, I thought. We told Hudson River Park Trust that this part actually was not necessarily presented this evening because we understood that that was attached with one, which went from the back of Chambers North.
The separation point, actually is at this juncture. But the area that's behind Stuyvesant, that's the North Esplanade, is Reach 2. And so as the alignment turns and crosses 9A and goes northward, that's Reach 1. So, sorry, that was not clear, but that's the point of departure there.
Yeah, for me, I didn't even understand that because we understood it was that whole line at the bottom of one. So when you come back to one, I'm going to ask if you bring this slide again, because the Hudson River Park Advisory Council sent out a note saying that one, which included this portion to the back area, which is the bottom of their land, technically.
Yeah, it's a transition point, so we're happy to
That'd be
bring
great.
that transition point back.
Really appreciate that because we told them they didn't have to attend tonight,
Yeah.
which now I'm feeling terrible about.
So you can see, again, we've made some adjustments to the design to address the issue. So that we're trying to encourage cyclists to go on the greenway itself. And we're accomplishing that through a couple different interventions, some graphics, a little triangular area here, to give a sense of purpose, to extend and then take a left. Next slide. And then just here's an overarching view of the circulation on this reach. We talked about universal accessibility, and one of the things that we're trying to be mindful of is there's certain locations that have stairs. And we're trying to design this so that people who are on wheelchairs have full access to all of the different elements and are not caught up or hung up in a particular area within Reach 2. So you can see how we've created, as best as we can, accessibility within this area.
What's it called, the width of the two? Yes.
The width of this is approximately 20 feet.
Mhm.
And the entire width of the whole thing is 12.
Well, I meant the one that has the top red accessible pathway.
The specific width, the accessible pathway,
Rachel Wilkins on the line here as well, you might be able to speak to this.
I didn't mean to interrupt, I thought it was a quick,
I think it varies between probably 5 and 10 feet.
5 and 10 minutes.
And, smaller widths when you have chairs.
Do you need me to move right
Yes.
over?
Yeah, that's.
Oh, right, you just said that.
Yeah, I didn't even joke with it,
No.
because I do like abiding by the rules.
Good question, we can address.
Hey, guys, you're kind of mumbling. If you could speak louder. I heard something about the size of the walkways, but I couldn't understand the rest of it. And I'm assuming that means nobody online could either.
Yeah, the size of the walkway varies. Actually, that'll become clear as we show the next couple of images. Next slide.
I may ask you if it's very difficult because you are so soft-spoken to sit at.
Want me to sit right there? Okay, I can do that. Sorry about
Is
that.
that okay?
This is Rachel with Big. I just wanted to chime in on path widths. We have a minimum of 6 feet width on the lower, more intimate boardwalk, and then we're maintaining a minimum of 20 feet. And it's actually a consistent 20 feet on the larger Esplanade path above.
Thanks, Rachel.
Sure,
Is it better for volume, folks?
I can hear you.
Yes, that's so much better. Thank you so much.
No problem, no problem. So this slide here shows some of the adjustments that we've made to the western edge of Reach 2. We've done a couple of adjustments to accommodate the maintenance shop.
Can you describe where this is? It's not clear.
Yes. Right, yes. This is on the western side of the Esplanade. As you leave the Esplanade and turn into an open up
Chamber Street.
Chamber Street,
This
right.
is Chamber Street.
Right.
Here, so this is the Chamber Street overlook here.
Right.
And then this is the existing service entrance to the building that, at Tribeca Point that already exists.
Correct, right. And as you
That's
walk,
my Vanna White moment at the front.
I might not say there because I'm a little self-stuff.
Yeah, so this is roughly where the Chamber Street overlook is.
So the big white open space.
This is the Tribeca Point building here.
You need to go back.
yeah, yeah, go back one slide.
Absolutely. Christmas, apologies. Okay, so from here,
Yeah, that's that.
With a better view, so this is where we're talking about.
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
So this is right, Chamber Street overlook is here, so it's just.
Yeah.
East, northeast.
Sorry, I should have indicated that when we got there, but yeah.
Maybe I should say that in case you. can-
yeah, because I think it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I was on the total other side.
I
Yep.
was lost myself. Okay, so
Okay.
this is the very end of Chambers at the edge of the Rockefeller Park.
Correct. So you can see, again, we've made a couple of adjustments to the design. Next slide. And here we get into sort of an examination of the existing palette of textures and surface elements. And you can see here we have hex pavers, obviously brick facades. This is the existing palette, and the railings, light posts, and then plantings and the granite bollards. Next slide. And here, what we're doing is now we're proposing in highlighted red a couple of new elements to the palette. Precast seating, granite that is matching the existing granite, lumber with routed faces, metal edges, and precast concrete steps. And you can see how some of those elements in the palette then come into the imagery that we're going to show you in the next couple of slides.
And when are we taking questions, just so I know? Are you doing it by by area, or are you gonna go through the whole thing?
We do it by.
Red, that makes sense, yeah. Next slide, okay. So here's an image that shows what we would refer to as the hardscape layout. And you can see that the darker colored areas are where we're proposing to have a lumber surface. And the yellowish areas are where we're proposing to put hex pavers that are currently there. Next slide. Let's talk about furniture. So this is what we're representing as some of the furniture elements. Precast concrete furniture elements shaped with curvature like that, and incorporated into that lumber onto the precast elements as well. Next slide. And again, here we're showing the incorporation of lumber strips within the concrete deck to accentuate the design in this area. Great, so here's some perspectives of all those different elements working together. Here's a perspective that is along the high school looking north. Well, the gentleman in the white shirt is looking north. Next slide. Here's a perspective looking west, showing the wood integrated into the hex pavers, showing some of the curved seating arrangements. Next slide. Here's another view. And this view is, I believe, actually looking eastward. And you can see the use of the metallic edge, highlighting and defining the planting area. And again, the different textured surfaces that are being used.
So this is further into Rockefeller Park at the moment, looking back towards the Greenway, is that correct?
It's at the edge of Rockefeller Park.
Yes.
So where if behind on the left what we're seeing on the left would be the curvature back down at the edge of the water, correct?
Yes.
And what's there now? Isn't it just a narrow path?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
That's the end of Greenwich.
Yep.
So now last question.
Sure.
I just want I'm just jumping in, sorry, I'm trying to still orient myself. So maybe just go back to the first slide,
That's exactly where.
the first one. Well, no, the first, sorry, the one that shows the plan, yeah. So
The next
What-
one, right?
is it the next one? This is
Yeah, it's the next, it's,
Yeah.
because that's the old.
Yeah.
So you want the next one after that.
Yeah, one more, yeah.
One more, that's the one.
The 15 feet from the existing platform, is that happening?
Of the extension?
Yes.
The 6 feet, yeah.
6 feet.
6 feet, but
Well,
well,
the 6 feet.
it was, the slide before shows 15 feet, and I guess that's the underlook. Can you go back one, sorry, Tammy?
No problem.
Right, you see 15 feet from existing platform, what is that? That's. If you just, what is that? Tell me what that.
Oh, you know what that is? This, oh, sorry. There's a no pile setback. It's in the water side. It's not a physical
Yeah.
dimension associated with the built environment. It's a pile limitation in the water.
Okay,
Yeah, so it just happens to be that from the existing platform, 15 feet, we want to avoid having piles. So that's why they just illustrated that with that line.
It's confusing.
Yeah, it is.
thank you.
It is. No, it,
I'm trying to get my head around the 6 feet,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the 15, and the lines in the line, but okay. So the 6 feet, and the 6 feet will require the Army Corps and all of the regulatory. Correct. Brouhaha, and presumably the Hudson River Park is on board with this concept.
we are continuing having
Oh, yeah.
conversations.
Okay. Okay, and then the only other question is the biggest to me challenge, because I'm on this almost every day, having broken my fingers jogging along this very path, is the allowance of bikes and pedestrians and joggers and such. And how, could you just describe how you feel you solved that quality that's happening there? Is this much wider than what's existing?
Yeah.
What's there now in terms of the width? You say it's 20 feet now with a 6 foot.
Yeah, maybe actually, and if you jump one more, good, okay. Rachel, you're online. Do you want to talk about how we've addressed the issue of the co-presence of cyclists and walkers?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things. Generally, we recommend a minimum clearance of 14 feet where we have cyclists and pedestrians. We've kind of upped that from the 14 feet kind of industry standard up to 20 feet along the esplanade. We've also provided that kind of secondary walk that's down by the water for people who want to avoid the bicycle traffic altogether.
And how big is it now?
The esplanade clearance in this area is currently 14 feet, 14 and a half feet to be exact.
Thanks. I don't want to hug. And then just the red lines, could you just review the red lines, what they are for everybody, so they're aware that there is resiliency in the plan, where that is and what that's doing and what's deployable and what's not.
Correct. So the red lines on this image represent the built structure that's going to hold back water. And you could see that for the most part, the red line is solid with the exception of where those arrows are. And those arrows are deployable elements.
So the egress here at Stuyvesant,
Correct.
and this access to maintenance point access here.
Right. So those little triangles denote where the deployables will be for egress continuity.
And these are flip gates or what are the deployables?
There's different interventions. The one on the maintenance shed is a slide gate, and there are different configurations as well for the entrances on the upper area there, next to the egress for the Stuyvesant High School.
Well, I would say that's a little bit unclear to me as to what these look like, how tall they are. I mean, I see 10.5 off what,
Mhm.
so that it's a little undercooked. If you can come back with just a little more, I don't want to, I know there's a million questions. So,
Sure.
from in the room, let's start here. Maybe there's not.
Maybe it would be helpful, how tall is the barrier there? So when you're talking about the deployables in those locations,
Yeah.
how tall are they?
Yeah. So the top of wall off water is at 16.5, and the current elevation of the esplanade is, I know it ranges a bit. The current, I believe it's at, is it,
It says 15 when
Yeah.
you come out in the middle, we're at 15, so the wall is 1.5 feet.
yeah. No, but that's the build. The current existing elevation is, I believe, at 10. 9 or 10. We can
I think it's
confirm
between, it's 9 in some places and 10 in others.
that. Yeah, it varies a
So,
little bit.
yeah, so the actual wall, we're redoing that, we're rebuilding the platform.
Correct.
That will be at elevation what?
The rebuilt platform will vary in elevation from an elevation of 12 in the lower part, closer to the water, to an elevation of 15 as it gets a little closer to the high school. So the esplanade itself will be elevated, and the top of wall, which is the flood protection structure, is going to have a height of 16.5. So if you visualize that today, if you walk on the esplanade today, the top of wall will not be that significantly different from some of the stonework that butts up against the high school right now.
But from what you showed in there, it looks like you're walking at that level.
Because the platform's being elevated from the current elevation. So, right, so that those long stairs that come out of the egress doors at Stuyvesant will be shorter because the platform's elevated.
Hold on a second. Gonna go forward as Richard suggests. Let's give me a second. So,
Have a visual. Yeah, there's visuals of that.
okay, so let's look at that. Is this the visual you'd like to reference?
I think it's
Keep
another
going.
one, yeah.
Keep going. Go on.
I think that
Yeah,
was it.
so you can
it's
see,
only a foot and a half.
yeah, so you can see, I'm gonna point to it
I could do that one thing.
right here. So basically, by elevating the esplanade, we've gained a lot of real estate by getting rid of the stairs, which allows us to increase the pedestrian path from 14 to 20 and create a secondary path for pedestrians. And you don't have this experience where this thing's kind of crawling up on the sliders in the high school wall.
You have a lot of questions that are coming in online.
Okay?
Okay.
Side wall, that's the
That's the wall, yeah.
barrier, yes.
And I have,
Okay, so
after.
I'm going to start with committee members in the room. Thank you. That's a good start. This is the North Esplanade we're talking about, and just the North Esplanade questions. Anybody in the room? Jeff?
The seating, the cast concrete, seating, we've had feedback on other reaches, people kind of resistant to concrete for a couple of reasons. One is comfort compared to wood, and the other is skateboards. What's the response to those points?
It's a really good question. I would say, Rachel, can you speak to the first part of the question, which is the concrete seating?
Sure. Concrete, the precast concrete is a really, first of all, really durable material in this type of application, especially when you're seeing regular use. And then for the second part of the question, the precast will have integrated skate stops to deter skateboarders anywhere we have precast on the site.
When she's saying regular use, is she meaning regular flooding or is she meaning
Regular seating.
just seating? Okay.
That's right.
That's good feedback about the concrete surfaces. I mean, we've obviously, visualized the use of precast and we've seen that in other parts, but it's good feedback for us to consider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of the things we would like feedback on too, is that I think we got some really good feedback when we did Region 6 and 7 too, on things people didn't want to see. So I think we're in the phase of this where we really want to hear feedback like that, if something just jumps out. Because I think it helps us in terms of when we go back and have internal conversations and like hear what people have said, helps us sort of, change our direction as needed. I was gonna use a different word, but I forgot what the word I was gonna use. Redirect, I think is what I was gonna say, but it helps us redirect once we get, people's feedback on things like this.
Wendy?
So all of the trees that you're showing there, though, these are all gonna be new trees that you've planted, right? Because this whole platform's being rebuilt.
Yes.
Yes.
So I would probably suggest in the next versions not to make them so big. Because I think this is a little exaggerated. And I think it would be more in line to say, like, when this opens, what do we expect it to look like? I think that, even if you say this is what it's gonna look like when it opens, and then the next slide is in 10 years, we expect the trees to grow this much, because certainly that happened like at ground zero, you know, they put the trees in and they're much bigger now. So I just would caution you to put that out there. And then the thing that you mentioned earlier, which I'm glad you did, is the sun and the weather on this side. Because I do think that's gonna be a big issue with this, you know, you put it as a white wall on there, which would make it cooler, but we know it's gonna be warmer than that. So the stone, I don't know how the stone is in terms of heat or cool. Like, it depends if you do a dark stone, it could get really hot. And if it's a, you know, maybe marble's a little cooler. I mean, it just, I don't know what kind of stone you're gonna use, so that matters, this precast concrete. I don't know, I don't have a reference point, what concrete, you know, how hot or cold it is. And then the other piece of it is I really do like the fact that you have the benches down there, but I think the feedback has been at other meetings to say at least some of them, or maybe half of it, should have a back, and have ways to help getting up, like a railing on, it doesn't have to be every bench, but some of them, having some of them would be very helpful. And, you know, I just wanted to say, like, when you're making your presentation, make sure you're also saying wheelchairs and strollers.
Yes.
Because one of the things is that, I do think you're gonna have a lot of strollers and toddlers down there too. So, you know, all of those things will be climbed on.
Yeah, and we've heard, and just to say, like, we actually, before this meeting, we were talking about like tree size representation in rendering, because it's true, like, this is probably a few years out.
Correct.
And the idea is to show people more realistic, this is what you can expect it to look like. We've gotten that feedback a couple of times, so I think in the next iteration, we'll see something that's more realistic, and then have both of them side by side as a way to really show
Yeah,
that.
and especially like if you're not changing Stuyvesant High School, just put that color, not instead of white,
Or the
you
color
know,
of the
just
building.
put the same color there, because it just helps to, it really did take me a while to go, what's the white building?
Okay, I'm gonna.
Okay, that's enough.
I'm just
Sorry,
gonna jump
too
in.
much for me.
Let me just jump in and say, I'm going to have everybody at 2 minutes. I'm gonna ask the committee members go once if they can on these two topics. Just to keep these moving along. Do remember, we've got, you know, 12
Yeah.
other agencies represented.
Lots
So-
of mine.
So Tammy,
All
a
right, so
quickie.
I'm gonna go through all of my questions as quick as I can. In terms of going out to the water, do you anticipate you might need to, have a change for the Hudson River Park Trust Act to do that? That's one. Are there any other impacts to the park spaces besides the encroachment on the water area for the park? I'm trying to wear my two hats of
We'll let them answer that.
chair of the advisory committee on that, and then I'm gonna get to my comments and feedback on the hardscape stuff. So that is first.
We're currently discussing, we've spent the last several months discussing various options with Hudson River Park Trust with respect to the extension of the Esplanade. One of the options that we did discuss is a change to the act. But we believe that there are some, there's some options available that won't require that. And that have been utilized in the past. And so we again are not, we don't have that finalized. There are discussions left to happen before that's resolved, but we believe that we've got some good options, and the trust is cooperating with us in trying to determine the best option forward.
And the other part for the trust side of my question on my hat, are there any other impacts to the park spaces of the Hudson River Park other than the water area?
The area where that curve is, we've also been in discussion with them about how to make sure that we are addressing concerns about bicycles, making that turn off of the North Esplanade and going along the Esplanade in the park, which is not allowed. And so you can see there's a little planter there that's been suggested, and something, again, we haven't resolved, we haven't finalized this. This is a discussion that's in process, for, a way that we can discourage bicycles from making that turn and proceeding up along the water, front, encouraging them to continue, to the east to connect with the bike path. So I don't know, Peter, is there anything more up in that little corner there that?
No,
is
besides,
impacting?
besides that, what you just discussed, there's nothing else that is impacting HRBT.
I mean, there may be some temporary construction impacts, in that area as we, kind of station things going on, but.
I have hardscape questions, which I'm gonna ask real quick, that's directly related to what you've shown us.
I also just ask everyone if your question's been asked or relatively well answered, not to ask it again in a different format.
So when you showed, and I'm flipping because I have the prerogative to do so, I am gonna say I highly support the conversation of, when you look at this hardscape that you have here, the continuous benching, it actually dramatically changes one of the best characteristics that we have in Battery Park City, and feels like there's a significant larger amount of cement and hardscape. So when you're looking at the benches, which you were looking at for here, which people have already commented about individuality, backs and things like that. I'm gonna take it back and say for the precast that you're looking at, for concrete steps and things like that, it's a lot of concrete. It feels very industrial. It does not actually have that natural escape from the city that Battery Park City is well known for. So I would, both in the color, the context, and the materiality. So I would come back and say it's such a dramatic change, and not, if it's not functionally required for resiliency, why wouldn't we look at more natural tones? And why wouldn't we look at, instead of a giant long seating area that would be great for skateboarders and the like, doing more benches and planters and natural kind of things in this area? I assume when you go to the next reach, you'll talk about the pavilion that you're building and the loss of the grass. Is that in reach 3 that was on the side?
All right, well, that's, okay, let's not jump there yet.
I just don't know if that area that looks like it's a pavilion, is that what that is?
I'm not sure what you're.
The
Step down, the theater step.
the theater snip, that theater,
Those are existing.
that's existing.
That's existing.
Okay, so there's nothing new in the.
wall.
no,
Okay.
Okay. All right, so you have committee members, you have board members and others online.
Okay, so,
And you have members of the public who have put in lots of questions.
all right, so.
So, Justine and then Joel Grayson.
Let's start with the committee, Environmental Protection Committee. So I'm going to start with Joel Grayson. Hi, Joel.
Hey, how are you? I had a quick question about how you were able to allow egress but not ingress for 3 of the areas.
Can we go to the slide that shows circulation, Tammy?
Sure, absolutely. I'm going the right direction.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Currently, those doors are used only for egress, and so we're maintaining that function.
Okay, it's the door. Okay.
Security.
Yeah, that's like for emergency evacuation, those doors, yeah.
Anything else, Joel? Yeah, terrific. Justine.
Thanks so much, guys. I'm not going to waste time reiterating what Tammy and Jeff said about the concrete benches, but I would like just to have confirmation that they are not any flood barrier protection use. That's what was said in reaches 6 and 7, and so I'm going to assume it's the same thing here. But what I like to do, and this is not a bad picture to look at, but there's another one that shows the wall that's going to be built. I guess is that Tribeca Point, Tribeca Green? What is that building at the end there? I forget the name of it.
Justine, Tribeca Point.
Say it again. Tribeca Point. Thank you. So at that building, is there a wall there now? What are you gonna be doing for the actual resiliency protection for the building there?
For the Tribeca Point structure.
Yeah,
we're-
yes, if anything, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so maybe there's a better image that shows that, or maybe you can go, you can just go back to the plan. Yeah, here we go.
That one, okay.
That one's great, yeah. So the protection will be afforded by what's highlighted in red, which curves around Tribeca Point. On the west side, obviously, there's a slide gate to allow maintenance access, and then it curves around Tribeca Point and runs alongside the wall there, and then terminates at the first set of doors, and then comes closer to the building for the rest of the run. But that's the
By
element.
Stuyvesant, yeah. But what exactly is that gonna be? Is that going, is that gonna be a wall that is a brand new wall? Is that gonna be a wall that's being put in place?
Yeah,
So
it's
I
gonna
guess,
be-
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to
It's
ask.
gonna be a brand new wall. And Tammy, if you could advance to some of the renderings again, because I think it's important for folks to understand how relatively low that wall will be, because
Yeah,
the
that's the one
Esplanade.
that showed it. This
Yeah.
is the best one.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
like the
yeah.
1 foot you were talking about? That's great. Okay, like that's,
Correct, so,
okay.
yeah, the lady in the second lady there, who's, the furthest out from you, right behind her, that's the flood protection element, which basically hugs the wall. That's correct.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Thank you. And again, reuse of the current benches, the wooden benches. Oh gosh, I forgot what Jeff called them. But I don't understand why we can't incorporate what we have already instead of the cement cast, the concrete cast seating. Because part of the other issue with Beyond the Skateboards, which you look like you're going to address, we heard at Reaches 6, for about Reaches 6 and 7, that it's difficult for elderly people to get up off the a bench without armrests or any kind of a side to it. So it just seems like it's not going to be as inviting, and it just totally changes the natural character of Battery Park City.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great point. It was noted before,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it also,
Okay,
it
great.
also isn't just for accessibility. If you have
Yeah.
a wheelchair, you want to sit next to somebody.
You can't. Yeah, and then you're blocking the walkway. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Justine. Okay, we've got, I think there's nobody else in committee online or in the room, so we will move, anybody else in the room? Okay, so Kelly from the attendee section.
Great. Hey, thanks for this. I would just reiterate everything that I heard about the benches. I agree with it. The natural elements are part. But my question is, it looked like you had incorporated some wood into those hardscape precast concrete benches. One, is that an option? The second question, then I'll just go silent. It looks like you had seating similar to Pier 26 that was almost bar stool seating looking out over the water. And my empirical observation is, while they look nice, they are woefully underused in other areas. So I would just caution you to how much space we want to dedicate to that kind of seating. Right? Looks good for somebody working at by the water, but it's not very community oriented because it's like a bar. So.
Yeah, we've heard similar comments in terms of the bar seating at this location. You'll see we also have some around Reach 4 outside 300 BC Street, but here especially, we've heard a lot of similar comments about that too. And I think as a team, we're looking at other options for seating there because we agree it doesn't really work for everybody. I think that they have some in this, like in the Seaport area too, where people just really use them. Not that many people use them, which is something I think we heard also. So it's something that's in development for sure. Peter, I don't know if you want to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, for the reinforced concrete benches, absolutely, we could integrate wood into that. We've heard some good feedback here on this issue today, so we can take that back as a team. But there's no technical reason why you can't put a wood overlay in a concrete bench. But the issue is probably bigger than that. It's also about the bench width, length, and the accessibility of bench segments versus continuous benches. So
All the other comments I totally agree with, so I didn't want to reiterate them. I would like to go back to Jeff's comment and stress anytime you have a length of bench anywhere in this neighborhood, it's not only the skateboards that impact the use of it, but they also are incredibly detrimental to the actual material, right? And typically the little stops that have been put in terms of remediation in certain areas are not as effective, right? The bench armrests tend to be. So just that's feedback for you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks, Kelly. Brittany. Our next attendee. I think that's it.
No, there's no better.
I'm gonna call it at 7 so we can.
It is on, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. One is on the number of trees that will be cut down in this reach, and actually I would like that question answered in all the reaches. I saw a note that it will be the net number, but I think it's important for people to know how many are actually coming down. And then the second question I had is, as part of the feedback, we did talk about adding more nature-based solutions into the water, and would like to hear a little bit more about the analysis behind whether it was going to be included or it was considered marshes, oysters, etc., kind of similar to what's being done in South Cove. Thanks so much.
You want to take that, how many trees are being removed? I know that's come up several times. I think at some point you're gonna need to answer that.
Yeah.
But for specifically now, in this particular area of the North Esplanade, do you have a number more or less?
Yeah, the materials that we provided have those numbers delineated on it. I don't know off the top of my head. Rachel, you might know how many trees are involved in the Reach 2 deconstruction. But again, we have to keep in mind, we're reconstructing the entire Esplanade because the Esplanade isn't capable of acting like a flood protection structure. So everything that is currently on the Esplanade is going to be impacted.
Right, it comes up so much that I think it's just gonna be helpful just to
Yes.
get out of the way and answer this. Rachel, if you're available to answer that or give us an estimate, that would be helpful.
Hey,
Or if not,
Yeah, this is Rachel. I think that the trees are such a big issue that we don't ever want to provide a number if we think if the design is still in flux. We're still looking at flood wall locations, what the extents of the footings for what these flood walls are, as well as like offsets that are required for the wall. And so we're still working through some of those, and we will, you know, when we do have a definitive number, we will be providing that. But right now this is a design update for you guys, and like everything, there's still a few moving parts to it that do have an impact on that number. So we just want to make sure that we're getting you the right information as it comes available.
And Alex, you're right, though. I mean, we do need to come back, and I think we're trying to actually accurately calculate the number of trees, because again, I think it's important to have a clearer sense of how many are being taken down, but also are being replaced or planted.
or saved, so I think it's.
Yeah.
If you could just, maybe
sure.
the next run in April, just give us some sort, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
it's just like that.
No, yeah, and I understood it's been a
Right.
question that's been open for a while, and
Yeah.
as where we are in design, like it is like a moving target. So-
Okay, thank you, that's fantastic.
And in terms of habitat work, we've been doing a lot of conversation, maybe if Lee wants to talk about it just a little briefly. We have been looking at habitat options in terms of what we can do on some of the, and I don't want to take us all with me, but like on the existing piles, especially here where we rebuilt, if we leave piles in place, what habitat or eco enhancements we can do there, and some other opportunities as they become available, especially in areas where we might be able to put things on the front of the bulkhead. So Lee, maybe if you want to describe it in better detail than perhaps I did.
And how that will work with governance with the trust.
Yeah, and how, right,
On that end, I mean, certainly.
Yeah.
To the end.
and from a regulatory perspective, just more broadly,
Yeah.
like it's,
Yeah, I do think it's important to distinguish using nature-based solutions for flood protection purposes
Right.
from supporting or enhancing the local ecosystem.
Right.
So because this is all hard edge, it's all hard structure, and we don't have a lot of space to work with wetlands or oyster reefs, or our ability to use those strategies for storm protection measures is very limited. What we can do is use the areas where we already are working in water. Otherwise, we wouldn't want to touch anything not to kind of disturb any existing ecosystem. areas where we are working in water, where we're placing platform, introducing new piles. For those, we are looking at ecologically enhanced concrete and specific textures and patterns that help recruit a range of organisms that are kind of part of the Hudson River estuary, New York, New Jersey Harbor native ecosystem. So we're trying to recruit things like oysters that help build that habitat, that then support hiding areas for smaller fish to hide from bigger predators. Kind of looking through the range of species that can help recreate and reestablish the natural habitat that was in the water before we came in with all the piles and concrete.
Thank
Are
you.
you talking to Hudson River Park Trust about all of that?
That's what I asked Richard, because it is a sanctuary.
Exactly, but hopefully they have all this knowledge.
So we've been,
That's the
yes.
science that they.
We've been using the publications that they have developed and research that they've done, as well as state and regional research documents that have identified kind of target species for this area so that we can better design for them specifically. So yeah, we're building a lot on the research that they've compiled over the years. We're looking at some of the work that's been done in the piers upriver to kind of see what's working well, what's not working well, how can we learn from it.
Thanks so much. Okay, last question is from our committee member Laura Starr.
Hi, everybody. This is really coming along. I love the boardwalk. I think, we're all getting older, and those of us who are runners, I think the more softer places to run, the better. I mean, it's like a running rush hour downtown now. Like if you think of all the runners on the Central Park Drive, it's becoming like that in Lower Manhattan. So I know I'm going to be running on there. The one thing I would say about this is the monolithic bench, it would be great to break that up and have armrests and make it more warm and comfortable and somehow softer. And maybe the planting behind it could have more layers, and even, I don't know if you could put trellises or something to get more green in the vertical dimension. It looks a little bit sterile over there compared to some of the, to what's going on in the background of this rendering with the trees and the more diverse plantings.
Great, Laura, thanks so much. I think we have one more.
Yes, Ruth Reed from Assembly Member Deborah Gonzalez. It's good to see the team again. Glenn, you had mentioned that about the changing of the HRPT Act. You said that you were exploring some other options, and that some of these options had been used in the past. What instance are you referring to?
One of the things that we're looking at, again, is just as an illustration, is a mechanism that is related to the gateway connection, the rail connection. There's a mechanism, an easement mechanism that was employed there. We're looking at that as a possibility. So again, that's under discussion. No, we haven't resolved that yet, but it's one of the things we'll.
Okay, Richard, quickly.
Apologies if I missed this. From an ecological standpoint, how much of the current materials that are there on the platform are be saved and reused?
We are going through a lot of discussions to try to recycle as much as possible where it's relevant. The team is looking at a lot of different options, but this all involves trade-offs, because if we recycle materials, that means we have to store materials on site, and we don't have a lot of storage on site. So we're trying to make judgments about balancing storage, the applicability of recycled material to the new design, and all the cost and the greenhouse gas emissions associated with each choice. So we're looking at that as a team, but it's complicated because we don't have this construction site that has all the storage at our fingertips, which makes it difficult to store on site. Also to note, oftentimes material recycling operations are particularly noisy and dusty. And so, carting materials offsite to process them, to bring them back on-site, to some extent defeats the purpose of trying to recycle the material in the first place, because it creates a lot of transportation emissions. So the team's looking at a lot of these different options. In future meetings, we'll probably get into that more, but we don't have the details of that looked at.
Okay, I apologize to everyone. First of all, you better understand why we always love the authority to come to their own meeting, which I know you'll do next time, because we have in front of us the entire rest of the Lower Manhattan Coastal Resilience team. So I'm gonna keep moving things along. And for those of you who, I don't do chat in these meetings. I'm sorry if people are chatting. You are welcome to come to the meeting, or it is remote. You are welcome to come and raise your hand, and you will be called on and you will be heard. So I apologize if somehow that isn't made clear.
Oh, it's clear.
Yeah.
I typed it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to everybody who thought
Okay, we're on
that
reach 3.
we could be 2 and 2. So now we are at Rockefeller Park, also known as Reach 3.
Yes.
Take it away.
So so Rockefeller Park, Reach 3, next slide. So we want to update you on a couple things that are taking place. This is the overview of the plan showing the lawn, showing the ball courts, and showing in red the top of wall. And we have a number of images that describe that moving forward, so let's keep on moving. This is the current playground plan. And you can see again the flood protection elements. You can see the gates that are shown there, and you can see the location of the flood wall and the offset. Let's get to the next slide. This is just a cross section of that. For the sake of time, I'll push forward and go to the next slide.
Just give people, a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Because in this section, we could talk a lot about trees and tree trade-offs, so I'm trying to get to that point in the conversation. Great, so this shows where the intervention is going to be.
I mean, you could just point out that the red, that what's in red is the flood barrier.
Yep.
And I don't even understand this to the height of the people next to it.
You have better.
Yeah, it's better views. This is better. So this is just a description of some of the existing textures and elements of the current palette. Next slide. And this is that palette with some proposed additions, the stone edges and the precast seating. We've got some feedback on the precast seating, of course, but these images will show what they show, and we can take that feedback back.
I'm going back one, only to say, do you please, when you're talking about this, for example, that art structure that's there and the Hurricane Memorial and stuff, you'll comment on all of those, right?
Yep.
In this.
Okay, next slide. So this is the proposed paving plan. You can see the hex pavers are shown in the yellow, and there's some cobblestone, there's some Dimitri Pavilion special pavers that are over to the right, and then there's recycled asphalt to be used for the courts themselves. Next slide. And here are some images, a series of images, the existing image of the ball courts, right, looking across the ball court. Next slide. And this is the proposed ball court.
I'm just gonna go back one for people.
Yeah, you can go back and forth to toggle.
Is it the same size?
It is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the same size. We're changing the orientation of the ball courts a little bit so that you can use 2 of them at the same time. But it's the same dimensions. And it might be worth mentioning here, this is an area where we got some feedback on the seating that was introduced along the ball courts. And so we have in the following slides, an updated version of seating that we're looking at here that takes up a little bit less space. So it's not as close to the edge of the court itself. And is also a little bit more inclusive.
What's the elevation of the court? I can't read that number there in the.
I believe it's
11.9.
11.9.
11.9.
I know these are new trees versus old trees, but when you're taking a look at the from shade cover,
Mhm.
from old to new, there does seem to be an extraordinary lack of.
Let's keep going, because we
Yeah.
have a lot to say about that in this area.
Yeah.
I promise.
Next slide, is this one?
The seating design?
So this was the previous seating design that we had in the 40%. And then on the next slide, we have iterated on that. So we are showing precast seating here. We do have breaks that allow for companion seating as well as wood slats on top. So the area that you're actually sitting in is wood, which is a little bit warmer.
You're saying this was replaced by this.
Correct.
And that's based on feedback that people liked the precast bench?
So there were a couple of concerns with the stepped or bleacher seating that we had. It meets ADA requirements, but it's not as inclusive as we would like it to be on this project. You do have an upper level seating that is not accessible to everyone. So that was a bit of a concern. And the other concern was that we're somewhat tight on space there. And so we were getting a little bit too close to comfort to the edge of the basketball court when folks wanted to try and see if we can pull it back a little bit.
And is the precast related to resiliency?
Not beyond the fact that it is, it's not likely to be significantly damaged if it's flooded. It is pretty durable in this area, and we are kind of incorporating it with wood for something that's a little bit warmer and more comfortable.
Keep going, or you want to do questions on that portion?
Let's keep going here. So here we're talking about the offset wall. There's an aerial view. Next slide. And we had a couple different approaches.
So this gets a little bit technical, so bear with me here. Part of the challenge is exactly what you were touching on, Tammy, with the alignment of the wall that we had previously requires us, or would most likely impact the existing street trees on River Terrace. And so what we were trying to do is find a way to adjust the alignment as little as possible, but in a way that would allow us to protect those streets.
It's just a little
Blue tree.
What we are trying to do.
shrub, I guess.
I can't tell. Looks like a tree to me.
I know, it's weird. Whatever.
Laura, I got her. Got two hands up. We've got Betty and Laura already.
All right, I'm gonna try and talk through what we're doing here. On the left side, we're showing the flood barrier system wall in the same location as the existing stone wall, right? This would require us to remove and potentially replant existing trees. Where in some cases, we can't even do that because they're too close to the FPS. What we are looking to do now, what we're showing on the right, is shift the alignment a couple of feet. I think in most areas, it's 3 feet into the park itself and maintain the footing of the existing stone wall. Doing that encroaches a little bit into the park, but it allows us to use the footing of the existing stone wall as essentially a true protection measure. We're not touching the critical root zone of the trees. We're gonna cut off the top of that wall and extend the sidewalk, add some planting. But really, what this whole exercise achieves is protecting those street trees and the existing shade that they provide. There are a few specific areas where we can't do that because of the construction limitations, but for the most part of River Terrace, we're able to use this strategy in order to protect a lot of the street trees.
The next slides show better images of this trade-off.
What's the encroachment distance?
3 feet.
3 feet.
3 feet.
So, next slide. So here, this shows the trees that are impacted.
So these are, the pig trees are all impacted if we're keeping the wall at the location of the existing wall.
Correct.
The next slide shows the offset alignment.
Right, so you see a lot of the pink went to green on the east side of the alignment. That's the whole, that's the whole point of this.
It's not the only
It's not-
benefit. It also, improves constructability, a great deal and lowers the
Absolutely.
cost and time.
Does it impact the playground and ball courts and?
We-
I am so glad you asked.
Yeah, we have slides on it, so we're gonna get there.
Yeah, go ahead.
While you're going through this, if you could denote, for example, while we're working in Rockefeller, over towards the northern end, for everything through, for example, the ball courts, will the playground be okay? Like where, in terms of the staging, are we going to lose the entire park like Wagner all at once? That's a huge community question that even while we're talking 3 feet here and 2 feet there, that access, if it could be part of the presentation.
Excellent. So this is a view of the existing condition of the wall. Next slide. And this is the view of the offset wall. You can see the location of where the wall was and that shift westward.
Off the wall now is 2.75. Right now.
Okay. Keep going.
So one thing brought up earlier was the idea of reusing existing materials. What we wanted to do now, we don't know exactly that this is going to be the design, but we're looking at the possibility of using the existing stone cladding from the wall that's in place to design an edge detail for the new planting strip. So we're kind of using the existing materials, keeping them in place to try and create that relationship with the character of the park, the materiality, the existing materiality of the park, but use it in a new and creative way that works with the proposed design.
Can we put our headphones in?
Great. Next slide. And this is just to get a view from the street looking at the playground. Notice 2.75, the height of the wall there. Next slide. You can see here, that's the new offset wall. You can see the height of that is 1.7.
2 feet taller.
2 feet tall.
No, wait a minute.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, keep moving.
This is an aerial view of the playground.
Alice, can I ask a question? Can I make a comment?
Laura, let's just finish this part, if it's okay.
Okay.
And again, this is the offset wall, non-offset wall tree impact count, right? Giving you some details on those trees and the choices we've made to protect those trees. Next slide.
So,
Great, and this is the, you mentioned before about the 3-foot shift. It pushes slightly the playground out, and the playground will push out a little bit into the paved areas of the walkway that's there right now, so that we minimize the impacts to the playground square footage as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go, yeah, this is the actual specifics of that, right? Lee, you want to walk us through?
Sure. So we are, by using this offset strategy, we are going into the playground. We already know.
I don't know, hold on. There you go. Struggling a little bit, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, here, we know that in order to protect the street trees, we have to construct the flood barrier system from the playground side. So we're, and with this new alignment, we are encroaching into the playground area. We do not want to reduce the overall footprint. And so what we're showing here is an adjustment to the overall outline of the playground that would allow us to maintain the same level of service, the same type of equipment. by taking up some surrounding areas, some of the adjacent path. So the existing path, if you want to go back to the previous slide for just 1 second, it has areas that are wider and areas that are narrower. In the middle, it's narrower. So we're taking that narrowest point and just extending it. We're not making it narrower than it already is.
Is
Does that make
there
sense?
a picture that, is this helpful? It's hard to understand which ones you're removing because there's the path.
Show the next slide, yeah.
Right after, that's the.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so you added on these two light blue areas.
Right, and you can see the total table square footage of the park area is 9,600 to 10,600. So
The size of that pathway there.
the width of the pathway is narrowest point.
Oh, I'm not sure I remember. I want to say 8 or 10 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Doesn't that encroach on where the duck pond and the seat in the duck pond is?
Yes, 100%.
That's what it is, next to it, this one. Okay,
Next slide then.
That's it.
okay, great. So, but we're gonna take questions on Rockefeller Park. Thank you for the
I'll
presentation.
find people first, just to be a little bit more equitable for the people who are in the room.
I think generally the equity goes to people who actually show up. So for those who showed up, I will start once again with you. Anybody in the room have any questions about Rockefeller Park's proposal plans?
I do, but I'll wait until I put it on.
All righty. Incredible. And so,
Laura, Betty, and then.
okay,
So, could you guys hear me?
yep. Yes.
I think it's really a shame to encroach on the park. Why not encroach on the road? Like, why not leave the wall where it is and take some of the travel lanes of the road? It's a really, really wide road there. And we're so starved for green space. I wouldn't take a foot of the playground or the lawn or any part of the park. Just go east with all this stuff. Plant new trees away from the wall towards the road.
Is that something that's been considered? Can you speak to that?
So if we were to do that, we would have to cut down all the trees on Riverside, on River Terrace. And we could hypothetically, we haven't looked at this very.
Well, I'm not really sympathetic to that anymore because the Battery Park City Authority cut down all the trees in the Battery along Battery Place, all of those trees to put in the flood wall. And the city cut down all the trees in East River Park. So I think here it's like put new trees in, like reuse the trees in the park, like Michael Van Valkenburg would do for like benches or some play things in the lawn or the playground or something. But like stop protecting the roadways and the sidewalks at the expense of our green spaces and recreational spaces in Lower Manhattan.
Is it something that you'd be willing to, given that Scape hasn't yet looked at that, or the team as possibilities, is it something that you have time to do, or is that not worth, knowledge it?
Yeah, I mean, just to be clear, we're not encroaching on the green space of Rockefeller Park. We're basically optimizing the edge to increase the playground area and not touch Rockefeller Park and maintain the series of trees, which on numerous community meetings were deemed as very important. So,
But aren't you moving the wall towards the river?
Right, by moving the
That
wall.
takes away from the usable, when you move the wall in, you're reducing the park by 3 feet over the length of that. And that, if you do the math, that's a lot of open space you're taking versus, I understand the value of trees. I'm a landscape architect. But I just think in this case, we need as much contiguous open space as possible, and there's way too much paving on that roadway.
Right.
We do have the square footage of what's lost.
Yeah.
It's right up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's just for the playground. That's winery.
Do you have the square footage on another slide you'd like me to move to?
I don't know if there's another slide.
I have roughly, so we know that
You need to speak louder and closer, I apologize.
For the extent of reach 3, if we were to use the offset alignment, we would be encroaching on about 2,300 square feet of hardscape in the park and 1,900 square feet of planting. Stuff.
Wait a minute, how long is the wall that's being relocated?
Yeah, now that I don't have, but let me check.
It does not include the area at the
park
at
house.
the park house, so it's not the entire length of it. But we do have that square footage. I want to go back to another point, though. The reason for this is not totally related to trees. And Peter, maybe it would be good to spend just a little bit of time, a few minutes to talk about the other aspects of the construction of this flood barrier and where the existing wall is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, by creating that offset, we have it facilitates access to the construction of the wall, which is a positive benefit, of course. And we don't have to stage equipment on the east side of the wall, and we can build it from the park. So that is a benefit as well from a construction standpoint. So there's multiple reasons.
And it does not require it to be excavated, the
It-
footings to be
correct, right.
excavated. of these.
Right.
You know, I understand all of that. I totally get it. But as somebody who's lived in Lower Manhattan almost my whole adult life, we are so starved for every inch of open space. Like when I go there on a day like yesterday, it's, you know, generally wall to wall people. Like I don't think we should be taking away an inch for all of these like construction staging and all of that. Like stage it from the road. I mean, why are we being so protective of our asphalt paving at the expense of our green and recreation and health spaces for people's health? I'm just saying that. You guys don't have to defend it. You don't have to say anything else. I'm just putting that on the record as something that needs to be said.
It's important, and I think it's something that we're gonna obviously have a little play here with, going forward. So Betty, hey.
Thank you.
Thanks, Betty.
Laura, I agree with not staging and taking up space with that. But my complaint is, I was a little bit horrified when I saw the cobblestones were going to be a new element that was being added to the palette. I spend all of my time lobbying people.
Yes, that's actually, no, Betty, that's actually not correct. That's the existing palette. We're not introducing new cobblestones anywhere.
Yeah.
Because there are accessibility concerns. It's only in areas that we're not disturbing.
Yep.
Okay.
I just wanted to make that part clear because that's been in part of internal discussion as well, that we don't want to introduce new cobbles in areas where it's going to create access problems. Sorry, Betty, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Right. In fact, I was gonna say the goal should be to get rid of any where there is some, replace it with something else that is attractive. But that doesn't allow anybody with a walker, wheelchair, anything to traverse that area. It's just dead space.
Right. Okay, well, okay. Thanks, Betty. Is there anything
Thanks.
else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Okay, Justine.
Justine, you're up.
Finally, it unmuted. I just have a question about the slide that we're looking at right now. So the existing square feet of what? The park or the green space?
Play area.
Playground.
The play area. So the play area is getting bigger. Okay, that's a good thing. But then what Laura was saying, I mean, that totally is a totally different perspective and a totally different message than what I understood, like the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association to be saying. And so I'd like to make sure that they're heard again, because Laura raises some very good points, but I just want to make sure that they're heard. Thank you.
They're on, they'll speak for themselves, I'm sure. They're all here.
Perfect. Okay, you know, I certainly am not speaking for them in any way, shape, or form, but they should be heard. Because I saw a lot of people clapping, and I think I would be inclined to clap for Laura too. But because what is on those streets where you're talking about, but placard cars parked. So getting rid of that is not a bad thing. Disrupting them is not a bad thing. but there was a big concern in the north about the trees. So thank you. That's all.
Alrighty,
Thank you.
Kelly, and then Alfred is next. Kelly, hold on, I've got to send him a thing. Hold on. There you go. Kelly, you should be.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to make a general observation about the parks that applies to all the reaches, especially in Rockefeller Park, including the one we just talked about, was, and I know this isn't the final design, but one of the beautiful things entirely in Battery Park City parks is the hat tip to the legacy New York City palette of Olmsfeld, of Central Park and Prospect Park, that every element had a tip to that, whether it was the light posts or the benches or even the materials that are used. And I think that we should be very cognizant of that in the final design and not lose that for a more modern palette, right? Because I think that is one of the things that has made Battery Park City truly special in the last 70 years of city architecture. I'll let Brittany chime in, but I think I would agree with Laura. I think the saving of the street for either ease of construction or trees or space is a bad trade, right? And it's an engineering problem to build it. Fine, that's what engineers should be chartered to do. But there's plenty of space on that street, either to make it one way, it's a short street, and reduce the space, or get rid of the parking that is now dedicated to non-residential anyway. And I don't think that should be sacrosanct.
Thanks, Kelly. I'm going to take a couple of board members who've reappeared. Megan, go ahead.
Hi, so it's hard to tell from the slide, but one of the things that people love about Rockefeller Playground right now is how shady it is. It has nice shady areas for kids to play in the summer. Is the plan for the new version to be just as shady for the kids?
I think we have it. A couple of that.
Sure.
Too bad.
It's hard to read.
So the trees that we're showing in green are the trees that we intend to try and protect through construction.
Okay.
So I guess that's a yes. I've got Sarah Cassell who came in a little bit before you guys. So Sarah, is Sarah's hand up? No, I thought her hand was up. Okay.
Brittany's hand is up.
Jeff.
This is a slide I had questions about. So if you kept the wall where the current non-structural wall is located, I see that all these trees would be impacted. Could any of the pink trees on the left-hand side be replanted if the wall were in that location, or are all of those within the 15-foot? So I think the community is a choice. I understand not losing a square inch of park space, but if the alternative is losing all of those trees, not just replanting them, but losing them, I think that's something to consider.
Is there something you want to say, or?
That's a great comment.
Yeah. I think it actually, just to chime in, I think it would merit a sort of a sub discussion in one of these upcoming meetings about the trees, as we said before. We can just plan for that. It'd be probably a good thing to really look at the numbers and what the pros and cons are. Wendy.
So I go back to when we did our walking tour at the 30% design, and I made more than one comment to the group there that there's a conscious effort to not protect the playground will flood. Because the early design, there was one design that protected the playground and one design that didn't protect the playground. And I just wanted the community everywhere I could possibly say that we are choosing not to protect the playground. And one of the things that came through at that walking tour, so just to remind people how we got here, I don't think there was ever a discussion that was possible, maybe you could tell me, about going into the road. That involves other agencies and other complications. And, when we were even at the beginning, that was never going to be, or I didn't get a sense that that was a consideration, but I also just wanted to say here is that, because these trees will flood, is there a plan because this will flood, you know, if there's another hurricane, bigger than Sandy, I guess. But, you know, I just want to ask a little bit about that, or maybe to Alice's point, that's a future discussion about how do we handle large trees that get inundated with salt water when that happens. And we can take it from there. But I just wanted the history to come up a little bit for anyone who wasn't
And the same
there.
applies to Rockefeller Park.
Right.
That's not a flood.
But hold on, the one thing I will say that probably nobody from EPC knows, that the Battery Park City Committee knows, is we, and CB1 in general, we had a presentation and discussion with DOT about narrowing River Terrace anyway. Years back, we were looking at the potential for solving some of the parking and traffic flow issues that resulted and posed security issues and other things. And so DOT was actually quite open to discussions about the narrowing of that road, the changing of direction. We had polled the homeowners up there as well, and it was really about trying to improve the circulation. So since that was an open idea at that time, I wouldn't see why it would be an automatic no-go now versus a consideration in the process of resiliency planning, if it helps in the long run. So it's just a comment of the historic that we knew.
I think we're seeing a lot of note that there are a lot of utilities underneath that road that makes it also very difficult to put a flood barrier system there. Just, that's another.
It sounds like an alternative that the community is sounding like they'd like to explore, as well as the tree situation, which seems to go in line with that. So if that can be something that gets expanded on, that would be great. Go ahead, Brittany.
Unmute Brittany and then
Oh, okay.
Great. Thanks. I mean, I've been following this closely now for a few years, and I'm having a little trouble following it. And it's confusing to me. So I imagine anyone on the phone that this is kind of newer to would also be having trouble following what's being proposed. So I do think that there needs to be a whole follow-up discussion on this. Just to address Wendy's question, I think on the trees, I mean, we do have a data point to what happens when it floods and trees flood, and you know, the staff flushed them, and you know, there was $1,000 worth of damage in Wagner when it flooded last year. So there is some data points to look at and see what happens. On the proposal, I do appreciate doing everything to maintain the trees. I do. I'm a little confused by the choice being made of trees or park space. Like, I think that there has to be an alternative way that you can do a little bit of both, that you can expand the open space. I agree with Laura's sentiment that, I mean, it's packed down here, even more so than before, on a nice day, and encroaching on open space is, you know, is really should not be something that we do. In terms of the alternative, I mean, I submitted an alternative design. I got, I don't know, after many follow-ups, a very superficial response of no, that won't work. In my view, it was to do the flood alignment through the road, reduce the road width. I think there's a lot of benefits. I do understand there's utilities, but this is a big project with really smart people on it. And I'm sure that we could accomplish saving the trees, keeping the trees, applying for vegetation variances, doing different things, and also expanding the open space. I'm sure of it. So I hope that there'll be more ideas and that we can continue to iterate off of this. Thanks.
Well, that's really consistent. Thanks very much, Brittany. Okay, Tammy, then we're going to wrap it up.
So I
quickly.
want to comment on the success, right? Rockefeller is probably one of the most successful parks in the city. And that's one of the things that we hear all the time, is that what you're hearing is the passion and the belovedness of the park, of the usage, of expanding, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to go back to the design stuff that you showed with the walls and the basketball court. one of the things, if you are is the ability to actually watch what's going on in the park. And that's significantly changed from everything because you're gonna have a wall that's practically 5 feet high that eliminates all children from being able to look over, where now you have the wall that has columns in it so people can see through. There's a porousness of it. And I have a concern with the designs that we're looking at. They don't have that same, everybody has a new design feature that they like or don't. But what I'm missing is the ability to see. And there's a lot more poured cement concrete. So I understand if the terraced seating is not valued, but that whole blocking off and walling in seems to be a prevalent theme that we've seen thus far for 2 and 3. And that changes the nature and the character of one of the things that's so beloved. When you see people being able to walk up and down that sidewalk, you can actually see into the park. And I think that somehow in somewhere, whether it's breaks in the walls, something that maintains some of the aesthetics that's so beloved. Not only the physical structure of the park, but the aesthetics is what I'm missing on what we're seeing. And I'm not talking beyond the materiality, the functionality of using the molded versus, since I have the luxury of sitting here, when you're looking at here and the walkway and the paths, one of the things that is so open and airy and connecting to nature. So when I'm looking at this, for example, at the wall height, you have it on the low, but you can't see. You're that child in the stroller. There's nothing that you can see through any of the places that don't have the solid wall, and it's very tall.
How about that curved structure that you were looking at in the reaches down on the, which is 5 and 6,
The
6 and 7? Yeah, the recurve. Could that lower the
Could
wall
that
in
lower
this?
the wall height here?
Here.
But that's something we can take a look at. I think we've looked at that. I can get back to you, but I don't think it's.
Because it doesn't seem high, but Tammy's point is accurate that, another foot here blocks visibility, practically speaking, into the park. And so if you could save a foot, it could have tremendous benefit.
It looks more like the existing condition and that situation, if you see the foot,
Yeah.
it's not as
Yeah.
noticeable.
Yeah.
I think it's something we can definitely take a look at.
Yeah.
For sure, if we haven't, I know, I think we've looked at it to a certain degree, but maybe go back and sort of revisit it on our end.
I think, Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this area, the areas where we're able to lower the wall height with the recurve, it's where we're trying to address overtop. And in this area, we're very far from the water's edge. We're not really dealing with overtopping.
I
And
see.
so I'm not the engineer. My understanding is this is really as low as we can go.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm gonna have to say, no, to new people or
Yeah.
to people that have.
Kate has not spoken, and Alfred's hand was up.
Okay, those are gonna be the two last. I'm gonna call it in 6 minutes, giving 2.5 minutes each. So go ahead, Pleasure. Sorry. And look at her name, Pleasure.
Yeah.
So.
Pleasure, you can unmute, there you go, welcome.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Oh, okay, yeah, I wasn't getting any feedback. So first of all, I had some other comment, but I fully wanted to second Tammy's comment about the visibility of the wall. I'm getting claustrophobia just looking at it. My kid is 4'8" and she will not be able to see over that wall. And I'm sure there are many, many people just like her in our neighborhood. And after all, this is one of the best places for children. That's why we moved here. And my actual comment is related to that. If I remember correctly, the design flood elevation was 16.5 feet last summer. And I was told in some of the meetings that this is just a preliminary height. After you do all the modeling, and if you take into account the topology of the park and all the trees and the benches and everything that's there, that will affect the wave action, and that will change and actually make the DFE lower. So I'm wondering, has that been done? Because I don't really see a change in the DFE. That's one comment I have. And the second comment I have for the record, since I heard the people before me talking about the street, as I understand it, the further you are from the shoreline, the shorter this DFE has to be. So if we actually go a little bit into the street, the other benefit of that is to make the height lower. So has that been into consideration at all? Thank you.
Thanks very much, Clifford. Good question.
Yeah, so the DFE here, if you go back to that image, I believe it's at 16.5 for this wall height here, and that,
Tell me more.
there you go.
One more, it's
There you go, right, yeah. So, it's true, we had estimated the design flood elevation along the Battery Park reaches varied in its estimate, and we had done quite a bit of modeling and design work to arrive at what is the final design height. We matched our estimate, which was 16.5 here, and that is reflective of the wave attenuation that the park provides. So that's as low as we can get it in order to build a structure that performs the way we want it to perform. The second part of your question is that if we move the wall further into the street, would it reduce the height of the wall? Relative to the distance of the shoreline to the current wall location, moving it into the street doesn't significantly increase that ratio. And so we probably would not see a significant difference in wall height if we moved it into the street.
Is there some way to do a napkin sketch study on that question, or that's something?
Does it get you down to 4 is, 4.75
We could certainly take that back and see if we can estimate that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Last person is Alfred Milan.
Milanese.
Nope, Milanese. Alfred?
He should be able to unmute himself.
Well, we're gonna mosey on, I think.
Alfred, you should be there, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, so we can take Alfred on the next round. Why don't we move on to Belvedere Plaza, the last of the Battery Park City Authority's presentations for this phase.
Yes,
Thank you.
reach for Belvedere Plaza. Next slide.
Like I said, we call it Belvedere Plaza, but it's really like the area around the ferry terminal, the Lily Pond, the Arch.
Yeah,
A section of Belvedere Plaza.
yes.
Because the other section is what we'll discuss at the wall, so.
Okay, so this slide or the next?
Next slide. Yep.
Thank you.
So this is the plan that we are currently working with. You can see the lily pond there in the center right. And you can see the red element represents the flood protection structure that's going to hold back the water. And we have a number of images that speak to the experience of people walking in and around this particular area. So I would say let's keep on going.
Did I go the right way?
This is just a highlight of the area that gets very close to the ferry terminal, and also an area that would require reconstruction of the platform. Next slide. Right, these are cross sections of the area, and you can see the upper right shows where the cross section is taken. Sort of right in front of the Hunger Memorial. Next slide. And the little red shape that was dropped in there is the location of the flood protection structure elements. Next slide. This is the section that is to the south of the ferry terminal. See, it's mostly a platform, Esplanade, right outside of 300 Bessie. Next slide.
Does this show any of the art that's?
In this area in particular, and just to go back to your prior question about the pavilion that's in Rockefeller Park and the Hurricane Maria Memorial, those would be protected in place. Here, the pylons would also be protected, the Belvedere pylons would be protected in place. I realized you asked that question before and we did not directly answer it, so apologies.
And here's the cross section of the proposed new Esplanade, again showing the red element there, which is the flood protective structure, sort of, a little bit west of the middle. Next slide. So here's an aerial view of the Lily Pond area showing the flood protective structure and the opening that creates the connection between the plaza in front of the Hunger Memorial and the Lily Pond.
So the Irish Hunger Memorial
Is
is the
immediately
image
to your
on the left where the two people are standing.
That's correct. And right above them is the overlook of the Hunger Memorial. It actually doesn't, it's a little confusing, but that's actually an elevated overlook. Those two people next to that green bush. Correct.
Right, that's right. They're at the top.
Yeah, they're at the top. Yeah.
Okay. Next slide.
Next slide. This is the existing. Next is the new.
That's from the exact same angle.
We've attempted to make it.
It's roughly the same.
What happened to the views?
Yeah, those trees are really big.
Yeah, this is another area where your comment
Earlier about the maturity of the trees is, yeah. I agree.
So this is proposed to add a full, is there a wall embedded in that?
Yes, yeah, so,
I didn't look it up.
yeah,
Always see it up here.
Yeah.
yeah.
So here, you see that right here?
Yeah.
How many feet off?
So this is the shell.
The grade is about 12 and 16.
16 and a half, so 4.5.
Yep.
So the wall is 4.5.
And here it's actually 13 up
Right.
here, so this is 3.5, so.
Yeah.
Changes a little
Varies a
bit.
little bit.
What's helpful here is the wall, the top of the wall is at the same elevation as the top of that existing stone wall
Right,
with
this is
the.
the one that's back
park.
here.
Yeah.
If you go back one,
That's okay.
we're gonna give you a lot of clicking today, but
Listen, I'm getting my money's worth.
this. so
Yes.
That's what you're talking about, Lee, right? That's existing and that's 16 and a half already.
Mm-hmm.
And the 13 that's at that location. So this is 3.5 feet.
Right.
Above that right there.
And is that particular wall and its style staying?
The wall that's overlooking the lily pond, yes, that wall is staying. The flood barrier system wall, you see it a little bit on the right there in white. On the left, you don't see it because what we're trying to do
Yeah,
here,
it's like all the way back here.
yeah, is surround it by new planting so that it is not very visually prominent.
That was some feedback we had gotten at a very early meeting, when we had shown just the wall. And people really said that like this idea that you can't just have, if the planting's not there, the wall is super visible, especially on this left-hand side of this rendering. So we took that back and worked on creating like a planted buffer so that at least it doesn't read wall, especially in this area where it's so open.
I think
like, I guess like it's, and because we have this view out to the lake.
This slide though is misleading.
It's because the angle is not.
And the trees and the.
Yeah, no, I think the tree comments is, I think, like across, it's global across these, like we are gonna work on adjusting that.
But is the gray wall, sorry, is the gray wall, the existing wall, the dark gray?
This gray one here you're talking about?
No,
That's
that's
the
the
left gate, that's a sliding.
That's a sliding gate, yeah.
This one, or this is the existing. This is the sliding gate and that's the proposed.
Yep.
Yeah, so the angle of this needs to be more aligned with the other one.
It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it should be.
Much easier for everybody, yeah.
And then, can you explain when you're talking about the FBS wall, how it looks almost when you're looking on the left side, and it could just be the tree foliage that you have there, it seems almost like it's a 10-foot wall from ground up because of the amount of view that is gone. Like if you
You're
take,
talking about this area back here?
yeah,
Like, yeah, I mean, I think this is an adjustment again of like the way the rendered view looks. So again, right, it looks very like bushy.
It's finished.
All right.
Let's finish, please.
but
Finish.
there's stairs that go down there to the marina that are right on the left.
So we have more images that show this difference, so let's just keep, I would say.
Yeah, that's where we're going on.
All right, just
So here's another
semantic.
image of this, the view to the south. You can see the ferry terminal to the right. Next image, you can see here again. You see what we've done here, the vision is to create this habitat area that has pathways adjacent to the wall, so the wall is effectively disguised.
You can see on the left there, there's a black dotted line with a little note. That's where the wall is, inside the vegetation.
And is that wall, how tall?
16 inches, the top of the wall is 16 and a half.
And that's the building.
Oh,
How tall
That's
is-
350 Street behind it.
How tall is the wall? Because there are businesses and other things.
We
here.
We have
What's the height of intervention there?
It's about
Yeah.
4.5 feet.
4.5 feet.
Why don't we go through the series of views, because I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, please.
I think you get a better sense though when you go through the street, especially the view from inside
Yep.
the building.
Correct.
Then-
East, south.
So this is facing north
This
Yes,
is,
with
yeah,
the ferry on the left.
Yes.
Yes. And next slide.
same direction, we just moved south a little bit.
Yep.
I just said this is an area where we're doing full a portion of it is gonna be full platform reconstruction, so we'll also be elevating the platform there.
So,
Which allows us to actually have a lower top of wall. If we did not elevate the platform at this location, we would have a much higher wall right up against the building.
So
And
is
the
there,
condition for 360th Street is different, I just wanted to explain this, Allison.
Yeah, no, I just meant.
No, like the condition there is that the building hugs the platform, so we really had a choice of either partial or full platform replacement. Full allows us to actually elevate and create a shorter wall than would be there before. I believe the other wall was,
I don't know, was it?
it was,
it's
I think
on
it was-
here.
I think it was I think it was 17 or higher, so I think it was the top of wall, so it was actually going to be much more significant. I'm sorry, keep going, but I just wanted to explain that point.
No, I'm saying it's great, I just want us to not interrupt, go ahead.
Keep going, Tim. Again, just a shot of the palettes. Existing textures and patterns that are there. Next slide. And you can see what we've added is we've added, we've got some feedback again in the stools. But we've added the precast planks, the wooden elements, and the tables, chairs. Next slide.
Just want to give people a minute to absorb because it's a lot of materiality for the proposed palette and it's very different from the one before. And for them to see what the wall, what you're showing on the bottom left.
Is the timber lounges, are those like chaise lounges? Timber lounges, are those like
We
the
have another-
big?
We have another view of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a shot of the proposed paving. Again, just with the color key showing what we're proposing for pavers.
Why precast planks? They're so.
One thing to note here, the paving that we're showing in the darker orange, this is one of the areas where we're able to incorporate permeable paving to help with stormwater management and improving water quality.
The Irish River Memorial Special Paver is remaining, that's existing and remaining.
Correct.
That's correct. That's another, to Betty's point earlier, there's an area there where there is a strip of cobble between the hex pavers and the custom memorial pavers that we're proposing to eliminate to improve accessibility and circulation.
So does a lounger look like?
Shot of the secondary path.
I love the man sitting on that, is that what that is? On the right? Or is it
plan, it's a plan view.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. He's not keeling it over.
Yeah.
Feeling like that.
He's not worried about the view.
Yeah.
Excuse me, were there going to be photos or renderings from inside the building? You mentioned it, now I don't see them.
We have those.
We have those.
I'm getting there. Whoop,
Oh,
that's
we
not
might
it.
actually, sorry, we do have those, if we can share, we actually, we thought our slide deck was too long, so we took some of those out, but we do have them, and I can send them to the board, so they can.
Yeah, okay,
But we do have those, and those were also shown at our public meeting in our public meeting in June, but I think we have some materials where we have that, I'll send the link.
Yeah, and then we'll post it, whoever's asking that, we'll post it on the CD.
No, separate. Sorry, this.
Okay, we'll post it on the
Thanks.
website.
Thank you.
But I'll make sure to pull those, sorry, we did,
Yeah.
cut them for time.
Is that,
That's it from the updates.
And then in terms of the Northwest project, we have some south updates too, but that's it.
I hope it's apparent from this that it's really good when you come separately in the separate meeting, because we're already at 8 o'clock almost, I think, and we've not even
Lots
questions
of
on this.
questions.
So, okay, Folks here in the room, do we have any questions, comments? Go ahead, Wendy.
Yeah, I just, first of all, I like the loungers. I think that on the High Line and on Pier 26 and other places, they're very popular. So, I'm sure you're already going to other places and seeing what's popular. So thank you for putting that into the design. I think people are gonna like it. I'm just curious, because this seems so narrow. Am I misreading that situation? Is this wide? It just seems a little narrow here.
The path or the seat?
Not the seat, but the path
The
here.
path is 6 feet wide here.
It's how,
6 feet.
And what was it?
It varies because the geometry of the.
because they're going down. That's the idea, is it's going down. Is there multiple paths going down? Is that,
Yes,
this
it
is just one of multiple?
Yeah, so the path, the primary Esplanade path along the water's edge.
Is along the edge or at the top?
Yeah.
And this is one of those in-between passes. Okay, that's good. It's just, I was having a hard time
Yeah.
putting that together.
It may be easier in the plan.
In the plan view, it's probably the easiest to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing. to
Yeah, that's
note-
very wide. Yeah,
That's not.
yeah.
We're trying to address a little bit of the pinch points around the fair terminal access.
Sure, it is tight there.
So we're streamlining that circulation on the water's side.
You can see it in the upper left corner.
Okay, thank you.
That's 6 feet is where the word is on the top left. On the right.
I mean, the top left. on the-
All right, anybody else in the room here? Okay. Tammy.
Roy first.
Sorry, I just wanted to make a small observation and perhaps ask a question about the vegetation in that corridor. Are you guys assessing for the wildlife that it might attract? Because, I mean, it looks kind of like Vietnam. I've never been to Vietnam, but I've been to Afghanistan where they have very similar vegetation, and it sucks because it turns a lot of bugs. A lot of heat also.
These guys know, I'm gonna keep it very short. They can talk about this for 2 hours. But there has been a lot of extensive work done recently, to do a canopy survey and biodiversity audit of Battery Park City's open spaces. We have all that information. We're working with it. And it's a little bit similar to what I was talking about in terms of the, trying to create habitat in the water. We're looking at native species, both of plants, pollinators, birds, and trying to design to recreate the native ecosystem and support it, both kind of aesthetic perspective, but also from a functional perspective. Those are the species that perform better in our climate, especially as it's changing, and that are likely to perform better in future flood events. So I agree, it doesn't look exactly like what's there today, but the intent is to find the right plant palette that can create a robust and sustainable ecosystem.
Okay. Tammy.
So I wondered when we're looking at the proposed palettes on some of the things, again, I'm going back to the aesthetics of who we have been and the art aspect of it. So when you look at the existing palette in the Fairy and the Lily Pond that I pulled up, you see that wall that's so interesting with the stones, right? And the very natural, little bit more organic feel for that Battery Park City is so well known for. So even when you're looking at the Lily Pond, the wall that's in the back is not a very, it still feels like it's a part of the natural environment. When I look forward to your new palettes, wood-clad planters seem great. Obviously, we've talked about bar stools and such, not so much. But I'm curious as to the choice for precast plank pavers, because that really doesn't, it screams to me more manufactured, less connected from nature, very modern in its materiality compared to where we have been, which was much more artistically done. So I'm curious about that. And I see a giant question mark over bollards. So I'd love to have an understanding my goal.
I think the question mark is more about the types of bollards. It's not that we would not include bollards, obviously we'd have to include bollards, A, because we're in Lower Manhattan, but also because we have existing, but I think it's what the bollards look like. Do we use we currently have, or do we, that doesn't know, or do we look at like something that's more universally applicable or something that's used citywide? Like, I think it's more just something that needs to be developed further. It also says like glass benches, like that's another question mark. I think the idea is like, do we want to have some sort of repetitive, something that's similar to what's there? Again, these are things that are in process, so.
So I know the glass benches are have been a huge art and financial suck for repair and the lights and things like that, but they are different. They are artistic. They add to the character that we know for Battery Park City. And I would hope that Battery Park City, since this project is so huge, can actually lead and teach the city what bollards in a textual environment might look like. That they are not modern, that they are not, the same that you find at Warren Police Plaza. That you can actually find something that you can make materiality on the outside that works with the structure below, like they have in cities all over the world versus ours. And then my last point again goes back to, it is far more closed in than it is before. And this area in very particular used to have sweeping wide open views. So I ask you to take a look very carefully when you're looking at that to ensure that that possibility is still existing. That it is not so walled in with greenery because we could put it here, like we discussed in Regis 6 and 7, that it is actually at every point in every location, there are places that people can enjoy and see the beautiful views. It's a little hard, I get that. It is a concern that I have with everyone that it's a changed nature that you would not know if you're walking down the street how to get to the ferry because you can't see.
Okay. All right, Alfred.
It's be requested from you, so. Give me 1 second.
Okay. We have 2 people and that's it. And we'll
Alfred,
then
your mic is open.
Close this out.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me now? Sorry about that. This is
Yes.
Eve Michelle with Alfred Milanese. How are you? So I just have a comment about the wall. You've talked a lot about materiality of the pavers and so on, but in that rendering, you have a very continuous sort of harsh white wall. What's being done to, are you considering texture, color? It, aside from the fact that it's an awful lot of concrete, it just, how's that being addressed?
I can address that. So we are currently in the midst of many conversations about what this wall actually looks like. And I think you'll see more of that in the months to come. We're really sort of going through all those things texturally. What does it look like? Color, especially in the context of the buildings around it. Because we obviously acknowledge it is a flood barrier system, it is a flood wall, but we're trying to be mindful of, I think, a bunch of things that people brought up today about the context within the neighborhood, the context, given the fact that in places like Reach 6, it's very close to the buildings, it's replacing an existing privacy wall. So we're going through those conversations now, including sort of what the design of that wall might look like. So I think that that's something we're going to come back to in the future, but it's something we talk about, I would say, multiple times a week, Peter. I would say it's probably something we've talked about. We're really starting to like drill down on those things, and have a bunch of options that we think are achievable and that when we bring back for people to provide comment on.
And is there a consideration for it to be made out of stone? All that concrete also has a little bit of environmental challenges as well. So is there a consideration?
I think we're looking at materiality of the wall more broadly is what I would say right now. I think that, we are looking at potential cladding options and things like that. But again, it's like the very early stages. So I think we're trying to see the realm of possibility.
Thank you.
At this point.
Okay, there's a couple more, Marianne, I don't know, is it Marianne Riverman or Marianne? Marianne, I don't see last name, sorry.
Marianne Peranti. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. My question goes back to one of the beginning slides that was given by, I think his name was Jason. He said, showing a slide that said that the city, the state, and the federal government have committed over $1.7 billion in capital investments to support the Lower Manhattan Coastal Resilience Project. one of which areas is Battery Park City. And my question is, how much of that $1.7 billion that comes from those governmental entities is going to the Battery Park City Authority to support the Battery Park City resilience projects?
That's it to you. Or
There's currently no federal funding that's supporting the Battery Park City projects. There's some federal funding that is supporting some of the other LMCR projects, but not for the Battery Park City.
And what about the city and the state?
The funding that has been identified at this point for the Battery Park City projects is the funding, the bond funding that Battery Park City Authority would issue, and that would be repaid as part of the debt service out of money that would otherwise be transferred to the city as part of Battery Park City Authority's excess revenue.
Okay, thank you. Kelly?
Thank you. And thanks for Marianne for bringing that up. But I wanted to put a highlight on something that Tammy mentioned throughout these presentations. It almost seems that as an aesthetic, and number one, I want to start by saying thank you for listening to the community about the Lily Pond and everything else. And there's a lot of design consideration. But aesthetically, so much care and effort was put into all the parks here to be consistent in their style and with the history of New York City. The style of what I'm seeing with the benches, and I like back benches, right? Don't get me wrong, and I like seating, and I think it's an important character of the park, of Battery Park City. But the style and the aesthetic that you're employing looks more like Hudson River Park and Pier 26, without making any judgment on them. That's fine. But I fear that this would completely change the character of the neighborhood. And I'm not sure that the consideration to keeping and making most of what we already have in terms of a style, in terms of the benches, in terms of the walkways, the look and feel of the place, which is one of the most important elements of what has been created over the past 50 years. So I wouldn't want to throw that away. I certainly wouldn't want to throw that away without due consideration for what everybody in the neighborhood feels like. It's going to be a shocker if we lose that.
Thanks, Kelly. Important point. Okay, Justine.
Thanks so much. I actually agree with Kelly on that point very strongly, and I love that Marianne brought up the financing question. But all the stuff with the proposed paving and the materialities and stuff, we're going to have another chance to weigh in, right, on these things, because it's a lot of information. Or is this our only shot at talking about the pavers, the walls, the whatever?
But we will have more discussion about materiality when we're back next month.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're at the point where we have to be paying attention and deciding, correct?
Well, it's always good to pay attention.
This is sort of like a first pass, like these are the initial things we've been talking about, so again, this is sort of like the first conversation about it. I certainly don't think that, I think we've heard a lot tonight about how materiality is incredibly important. So I would say this is not the last conversation we would have on it for sure.
Okay, no, that makes me, that's good.
And the next meeting in April, I just wanted to say, will be, I think I'm going to
16.
take everything off the table, but Battery Park City and all these conversations, so we really can drill down on all these questions in one meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Isaac?
Isaac, Dan,
Yeah.
you mute yourself.
Can you hear me? Yep. Just going back to the height of the wall, and I guess if the 16.5 feet is the set, what can we do on the east side to mitigate that? Because a 3.5 feet wall is a lot different than a 4-foot wall, which is a lot different than a 4'6" wall. So how can we incorporate scope-wise what happens on the east to make that wall seem lower?
I'm confused at your question. What do you mean on the east?
On the east side of the wall. So, we were talking about, at around the playground, there was talk about, well, you know, that wall should be on east, but if it's pushed east, then maybe that roadway needs to change. Maybe that sidewalk height needs to change if we're stuck with that 16.5 foot as an elevation. And I would, you know, if it were 16 feet and not 16.5 feet, that would make a big difference. So every inch counts for views, visibility. So I'm wondering how that's being taken into account, or if it is. And I understand that elevations need to meet up with the existing buildings as well. But, you know, wherever we can gain a few inches would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Wendy.
So one of the things that, just in general, this committee's going to be talking about this year, and the whole city's talking about, is rainwater collection and absorption. So I like that you have the permeable pavers. I think some of them are stacked in front of Stuyvesant High School right now, those big.
These are some that we were trying to use, but we're not able to use yet, but those
Okay,
are.
well, anyway, so thank you for exploring that. I was just wondering, you know, one of the things that we saw in other designs, not necessarily this one, is that like the basketball court would actually be like a place to collect water, or a cistern underneath of it, or is there any places that you're gonna tuck away little cisterns or little water collections or little things like that?
We're actually we're like in the very early stage of looking at like where we can do green infrastructure, where we can do capture, storage. So we're sort of in the early stages of that, but yeah, we are looking at other opportunities in addition to like broader, bigger drainage, like how we do these small.
Yeah, I think we're in
sort of
the.
discrete areas where we can create additional opportunities for rainwater and
Yeah.
stormwater capture.
Yeah, I just think that, you know, one of the things, if you're gonna be the first park, because we're now getting 4.5 inches in 1 hour. You know, so I would just say, you know, that's the new normal, you all know that. But if there's anything you could do to show like how it works, that would also be very exciting to, and I don't know how it works, because it's rough.
Good point. Yeah, great. Okay.
I unmuted
Emily.
Brock. Oh, let me send you that.
Thank you.
Emily, welcome.
Hi, could you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm not sure if this question has already been asked. I've kind of been in and out of the meeting with my kids, but I just wanted to know if the Battery Park City Authority and/or related contractors did any work to seek a vegetation variance in order to preserve more trees.
We're relying on our designer to tell us where there may be some opportunity to try to take advantage of an opportunity to plant closer to the FBS wall. And it's not simply a regulatory matter, it's a design matter. Well, there are situations where we do not want to have a tree within 15 feet of a flood wall because of the risk that may create for the long-term longevity, reliability, and O&M of the flood barrier system. So as we go along, we're relying on our design team to tell us when there is an opportunity to do that, or where it would be appropriate and the risk would warrant it.
Is that something that perhaps some of the design team might be able to have? What we're looking at now almost seems like a worst case scenario maybe then, in terms of where the trees come out and where they don't. But it would be maybe educational for the public to hear, you know, we took a look here, this is gonna be a dangerous spot for it, and this is a elevation. That kind of a back and forth to understand would be really probably helpful.
I think there's a point where that would be appropriate. I think it's, you know, we're not quite there yet, just because we haven't quite gotten to that point of being able to have that definitive sort of response from our design team. But once we are, then we can have that conversation so that we can discuss the details of it.
Okay, it looks like we have finally.
Barbara Ireland's the only other one.
Okay, Barbara Ireland, last.
Oh, sorry, Barbara, I put your hand down for you. But Lonnie Passage has.
Okay, that will be
And
it.
that'll be our
That
last.
is our last.
That's our
May
last.
15th. So Lonnie, take it away.
Hi, thank you. You know, something I wanted to say, I mean, I appreciate that a lot of, you know, I'm sure a lot of time has been put into the renderings, but it's very difficult to discern how our views will change at different points along the sidewalk, from the street, views of the river, views into the park. You know, it's, you know, it's all well and good to show that there'll be these lush plantings to sort of distract from the wall and so forth. But I think from a just public safety standpoint, understanding who's around you, being able to see what's happening, particularly in areas where young children are playing, it's very difficult to understand from the renderings how sightlines are going to change. I also haven't, and maybe I missed this earlier in the presentation, but you know how this is going to be financed in the absence of federal funding. You know, who ultimately is going to be stuck with the bill. You know, I mean, I hope that can be discussed more in future presentations.
I think in terms of the sightline question, I think we have to, as we continue to develop some of these areas and get more sort of, no pun intended, concrete detail. That's the only way I could sort of describe it, but I think we do need to develop those views because again, I think you pointed out also sort of adjustments in terms of planting and tree size. That also is going to impact, you know, the sightline views that we're projecting. So I think that that's something that we'll be doing in the future for future meetings. As we move, oh, go ahead, please.
Just thinking that the video that we had in the previous public meeting might be more helpful. I believe it's online.
Yeah.
If we want to understand the context and not just the individual's views that we're showing here.
Yeah.
So if you send us those in particular for reaches 2, 3, and 4, just those,
It's one continuous video.
Yeah, it's the whole.
yeah.
So can I ask, I'm gonna close this portion out. I really want to thank the Battery Park City Authority for doing this, and for all of the rest of you for hanging out. In the future, I hope we can divide it up a little bit differently in terms of meeting times. But anyway, there's a lot of follow-up, it sounds like. So I know that in April, on the 16th, for everybody in the public, we will be looking at the reaches that consist of the West Street crossing in Tribeca, called Reach 1, and Reach 5 or 6 rather.
No, five.
Five, yes, the North Cove. So, but with that will come follow-up on many of the things I think we've discussed tonight about materiality and about the trees specifically. So let's make that part of our agenda if we can. And I wanted to ask if we could, you know, your tours really were inspirational way back when of Wagner Park and then afterwards. Is that something we could look forward to in later spring, perhaps, another tour where we're walking around? Everyone's looking at me like,
We don't currently have any, I know that there are some, I know that ULI is coming up a resilience tour for Battery Park City, during their conference in early April. So that might be something that we could,
That would be really great, because those are really incredibly helpful. So I just wanted to hope for another round of that. All right, well, we'll look forward to seeing you next month again. Many, many thanks, really helpful. And we will now say again, good night. Thank you to that group and.
We have south construction updates, but if you guys.
Oh,
Give them 40 slides of it.
We may not want to hear from you, but no, please.
Slides
up. Please
Yeah,
do.
Kimberly, if you just want to walk through them really quick and then we can.
Yeah, we can
Sorry.
We can keep everyone honest.
No, great.
This is just a rendering of what will eventually be on the south of Wagner Park with the
Introduce
pavilion.
yourself.
I'm sorry, I'm Kimberly Saul with Battery Park City Authority. So next.
There we go.
Right now, we are fully under construction with phase 1 by the Museum of Jewish Heritage and Wagner Park site, kind of the pavilion area. And then phase 2, the Pier A battery and interior drainage is underway. So we are still on target for completing in spring of 2025, which aligns with the battery project with which is coming in. They told us the other day in July of 25. Next. Just on the lower left-hand corner, it's a little bit washed out, but you can see in the lower left-hand corner, it's our architectural concrete. The first piece of that colored concrete for the pavilion was poured. The cellar slab is complete for the pavilion, and today they were actually doing the formwork for the first floor of the pavilion. We're doing soil anchor testing along the flood barrier system. The retaining wall at the Esplanade was installed. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see the geofoam, which will be underneath the park, is being installed. It comes in truckloads every day. And then micropiles are being installed along First Place, where we have a huge Con Ed
System.
Yeah. So that's really it. I think if you go to the next slide, if you have any questions about it, you can contact Katie McDougal or
Nick Swardown.
Nick Swardown.
Lucky Nick.
Question. Yeah.
You have something?
So we, Battery Conservancy did a walking tour for us, so we got to walk their space and things like that. And I will tell you that I did push again for a connection from the north side, and again, they said, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. So I asked, but couple of things to note. Is there any work being done at all inside Pier A? And if so, what, in association with either this or others?
There are several projects that are either underway or are about to be done in Pier A. There was some piping replacements that were done. We're doing railing, replacing the railing around the promenade. We're doing some structural work underneath, and we'll soon be starting a project to restore and repair, in some cases replacing the windows and doors.
Will that have to go to landmarks?
Yeah, I mean, these are things that are generally staff level because they're all in accordance with prior work that was done, so they're administration.
So you're saying it won't come before our board? Okay.
Gotcha.
Anybody else on South Boundary? One of the groups I invited for next time, and I don't know if it'll work or not, but was Waterfront Alliance to talk a little bit about Wedge. And I know you celebrate that in your own project, so I thought that might be a nice thing. And you might be able to talk about that vis-a-vis the entirety of your project. So anyway, that I might keep on the agenda.
Justine.
Sorry, this is Phil Zaffery. Oh, you have a question on South Battery, Justine? No problem. Go ahead. South Battery.
Yes, no, just a really quick thing, and it's more about quality of life, I guess maybe to Katie or something, but I know that we've talked about it, and I know that Nick and I have spoken about it, and they're aware, but I wondered if there was any relief about the lights that are being lit in Battery Park. They're disruptive, and I think that the comments are that it's brighter and that something was done in Wagner Park itself that was able to lessen the impact. And it's the community, at least that people have been talking to me, were hoping that whatever was done there could be done in the Battery itself, but the parts that's under the control to make it.
Justine, I can help.
Thank you.
I think I can help with that. Nick and I had some lovely conversations
Good.
about lights in the last 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
It does work for construction impacts. If you could take a look, there are bright lights, the flashing ones have been mitigated in the southern part, but there's actually a barge coming down the south side of Battery Park City, which leaves their lights on at night and floods. So as it's moving down, it's
Well, I'm sure that we'll follow up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Now we actually say good night to you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you everyone else for standing by for questions.
Well, all right, we did our best.
Thank you.
It's only a night to make report. Okay, Jordan, you're back up. Are you still with us?
Barely. We may have lost a step as a team, but
Yeah, I'm gonna say that if you need to jump up and move to the table so you feel a little energy in your soul and you can be heard better by the camera, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much to the Battery Park City Authority team. It was a great detailed presentation. We really appreciated that.
Thanks again, guys. All right. Thank you. I am very sorry. We tried very hard to make 2 meetings out of this. It couldn't be done, so there you go. And you've come first before, you've gone second now.
Won't waste any time.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Kathleen. I've been to these meetings before. So we're gonna start.
In your position, so everyone in the public
Sure.
knows.
Oh, yes, the camera's right there, right? So I'm Kathleen Chan. I'm a vice. Oh, perfect. Hi, I'm Kathleen Chan. I'm a vice president with New York City EDC. And we're managing the battery coastal resilience project on behalf of New York City Parks. So we could start with the slides. Thank you. So with design, we've been done for quite some time since last year. All the permits are in place. We are currently have been seeking the Envision certification, and I'm glad to say that we've actually accomplished and achieved a platinum rating under the ISI, which is the Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure under Envision. So that is something that's wonderful for us and for everyone on the project. Some construction updates. I know everyone was there. I hope everyone was there on Wednesday of last week when we did the tour for the construction. So the tent is down on the west side. The MPS security tent is totally down. Phase 1 salvage work is totally complete, and that is getting all the granite and all the materials that we need to come back and replace them when we rebuilt the pier. The marine contractor Walsh is on site. They have brought the barge in. I think you saw the barge when you were walking on Wednesday. The crane was not up. It did go up the day after when you were gone the day after. So I think we have some photos of the crane up, and you will get to see that. Wait, I'm still on that first slide, sorry. Yes. We'll see those slides. The community liaison CARP strategies, you've met them. They were also in the walkthrough, and you will start to see a lot of updates from them, working on a newsletter. I think we responded to your Q&A. You got that last week from Diana. Some upcoming milestones. The wharf demolition is it has started. Walsh has brought in some of the backhoes, and they're breaking up all that other material that's on top of the wharf. Sheet pile installation will soon begin right after that, sometime in early April. And we anticipate some of the pile driving for that to start also later after spring.
Next slide.
Yes, thank you. So the community construction liaison is CARP strategies. They'll be working with us to address any of the community concerns and questions. If you have more questions, please send them our way, and we'll try to answer them as quickly as we can. And of course, we'll be providing our regular updates to community board as we've always done. So the walkthrough was last Wednesday. If you have more questions after that walkthrough and we were not able to answer them during that time, please let us know. Or at any time, contact Lily and she will make sure to get questions to us. There's a website, you can email us, you can call us to do what you would like. Diane is always, accessible to the community. Next slide. And here we have photos, and a picture's worth 1,000 words. This was taken after that huge January 13th storm. I think folks have seen this photograph, and it's really very telling as to why this project needs to be done and completed as quickly as we can. And this is just showing that the tent is down, the west tent. We call it the west versus the east. So that's been demolished and it's been taken off site. And these are photos of just the hardscape that's being salvaged, a lot of the granites, and just starting to see the equipment, the backhoe trying to just take off the top side and getting rid of that material.
And I will know for people wondering what those yellow things are, those are the protections for
Correct.
the memorial.
And this is what happened last Thursday. This is the crane that went up. That's the barge. And they have some equipment on the barge that's soon going to be picked up and put onto the wharf to continue more demolition. And this is just the current status of the battery. You can read the legend if you have any questions about how access is coming into the park. The bike lane is still coming around, Battery Place and coming down State Street. The exits are where there's no entrance into the park currently. And I think when you walk it, you'll see there's still a lot of very open spaces in the park. We created the dog off leash area. And that was a question, and that's been put in place there. There have been some temporary signs, and I believe Lori was there last week, and she also spoke a lot about signage. So next slide. And this was, that was everyone, yes. And next slide. Yes.
I have one quick question, comment, just for EDC to know, for Jordan and for Nick. CB1 had a preliminary discussion with the American Heart Association run this year. I mention it only because it goes along all of our projects that we are doing.
In May, right?
In May, yeah.
Okay.
So I had a large conversation with them about Battery Place because they run along the north end of Battery Place. All around, they come down water and come all the way around the park and into Battery Park City. So I had a discussion with them because I don't actually believe they will fit on the sidewalks of Battery Place, which they normally do, is going around the battery itself. It's just a heads up warning for you to think about. It's one day in May. I don't expect any of the fencing to move. I don't expect anything like that, but just to know that you'll have 10 to 20,000 people running by that. And so maybe we should have a conversation. It was a full agency call today.
Okay,
that I was
that's
on.
great.
We'll track it as it goes through the permit process, but it's a good flag, and we'll make sure to
Yes.
come back and understand.
And
what
we'll
the
talk
thing
to
is.
our construction manager, Hunter Roberts, as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to thank you very much. I was glad, I could not thank you enough for, and a real shout out for Diana Sweetie.
Yes.
For having arranged the tour
Absolutely.
for us and also for having done the special day of, or evening on just the battery, where we went into details. So for anyone who's online here who did not get to see that, or hear that, or who wasn't at this actual site tour, I recommend the YouTube, which was very much an in-depth, detailed report on this. So thank you for both those.
You're very welcome, Alice. And we could arrange some more tours because construction will be there for a while, but we always have to be mindful of safety, and that's why
Yeah.
we have the fence up. And you weren't, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, no, I was there. Yeah, it was good. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Next up,
Next up
okay.
is,
Any questions? I'm sorry, I should open for
yes,
questions on the
yes.
battery. Excuse me.
Sorry. Yeah, I was so
Anybody-
excited. I was like, "Ooh."
Anybody in the room? Anybody online?
I see no hands.
Okay, thank you again.
No problem.
Okay. Jordan, hit it.
And with that, I don't know if we're giving Gigi Lee permissions.
Oh.
Should be joining us if you're not lost her.
So sorry. That's all right. I did not see her earlier.
Jordan, they said Alexis might be presenting as well.
Yep, I've got Alexis. Let me put Alexis over. Give me 1 second. Sorry, Alexis. Hi. I hope I moved the right Alexis over.
Kelly?
It just says Alexis.
No, we'll find it.
Alexis, you are a panelist, so you can unmute yourself. She's there.
Hey, I'm sorry. It's Alexis. I'm
Okay, hey.
Hi, Alexis.
joining from my phone, so I apologize. Do we also have Gigi on?
No, I don't see her unless she's dialing in from a cell phone that I don't recognize. And if so, if she just puts her hand up, I'll be happy to move her over.
All right. Well, I will proceed with presenting the slides. So this is a shorter update than usual, but we do have a few slides just to kind of recap where we are in terms of phase 5. And then we have some upcoming milestones, important dates in the spring and summer that we want to preview with you all. So if you go to the next slide. Great. So this is a review of some design materials you've seen previously. We have in this phase of work refined the design in order to reflect kind of 3 distinct designations along the waterfront. It is still a comprehensive flood defense running throughout, but we have refined the designs of these 3 areas in a zoom in. So you'll see the resilient ferry hub, which really has to do with concentrating marine and maritime operations overall in the south. Then the middle section, which we refer to as the multi-level waterfront park. This also includes maritime operations. So I realize it's not entirely concentrated in the south, but a redesigned, essentially Pier 11 and Central Ferry Hub for the New York City Ferry. And then the northern area, which we're referring to as Seaport Piers. Seaport Piers also includes another EDC project, which is currently in the design phases, the Seaport Coastal Resilience, which will be addressing more near-term flooding. And if I'm sorry I joined late, but if Andrew hasn't already presented on that, he will be.
Oh, it's all you. No worries. Do you want the next slide or do you taking questions here? What happened to her?
Is she still with us?
Alexis dropped off.
You said it was a shorter presentation.
Well. And who did she ask?
That is good.
Is it Andrew
Well, yeah,
Lax?
it's Andrew Alvin. I'm talking about Seaport after these.
Yeah.
So this isn't, this is still on Alexis at this point.
Does anyone have a connection to see what's happened to her? Like, you know, her architecture?
I'm sure she'll call back in and just to fill this, you know, this
Yeah.
is something that,
Oh, there she is. We move her on.
for them, but this is, we do have an upcoming meeting, I believe it's, next week on the 27th, focused specifically on how we were thinking about reducing carbon emissions across the project. So you know, this is just one slide, but we'll be spending the whole evening talking specifically about that. That we can have.
Alexis, you're back?
I am back. I'm so sorry. My connection just completely dropped, so I got kicked out. Thank you, Jordan, for stepping in. I am picking up where I believe you left off, that we will be having an energy and sustainability focus workshop.
Yes, I went back a slide because I didn't know if you had anything else that you wanted to add before I pushed forward.
Nope. Please push forward. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Great.
Anything else on this one?
So we have, and again, I couldn't hear what Jordan said, so my apologies, but in this phase, we've actually really solidified and been able to advance what our key performance indicators for our energy and sustainability plan for the overall master plan. So these are essentially KPIs that we'll be able to carry forward as metrics in order to both meet the city's kind of reducing carbon emissions goals, but also really make sure that we're in our overall like planning stages, making sure that we're establishing those key performance indicators that will be carried throughout the project. And we will be having an energy and sustainability workshop. We're still workshopping these KPIs, so there is an opportunity to have community input on what our goals are. It is loosely configured around the Envision goals. We are planning to go for an Envision certified project here, similar to the battery. But we'll be having a more general conversation about what those goals are, and also really hoping to engage energy experts in the community in helping to form what those key performance indicators are and kind of get their commitment as well as to those goals. I noticed a hand went up.
Well, Alexa, let me just jump in for a second, just to clarify. This is going to be occurring in an upcoming meeting in this discussion, what the target goals are, fleshing out this concept. Is that what's happening? And when is the meeting? Do you have a specific date and time? I'm sure you do, but I don't know.
Next.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so it's next Thursday. I'm happy to share invitations. I will send them through if anyone who's currently on the call is interested in attending. I'm happy to share your name with Diana, and she will send you an invitation to next Thursday's meeting.
Yes, please.
And this meeting, is it something that's going to be recorded so that those folks who might not be able to go can hear it?
You know what? It actually is more of a workshop, so our intention was not to record it. I think we're happy to report out on it. But also if it's something that, so we're developing kind of materials specifically for that meeting. And if it's something that you would like us to come back to the community board with, whether during one of these LMCR quarterlies or at another community board or committee meeting, we are happy to present those materials just to CB1.
Oh boy, I'm going to take you up on that offer.
Yes, all right.
Okay. Go ahead. Thanks. More on this, or is this opening to questions, or were we?
Are you ready for questions, or do we have more slides?
This is the last slide, I believe. If Jordan didn't cover it, just that we are currently in phase 6. This will be wrapped up this summer. And that will bring us to about 15 to 20% design for the base infrastructure. So that means the coastal flood defense infrastructure, and also that we will kind of lock in various areas, geographies that we are saving space for what we know will be the pump station, et cetera. Those are not actually designed as part of this phase. They will be further designed as part of a future phase. And also the topside programming will not be finalized this summer. That will be the subject of kind of future design phase 6 and future design phases. But the idea is that we will have kind of settled on the overall geography and alignment of the coastal flood defense by this summer.
Just so I'm understanding, in the last 3 months since the last quarterly review, what exactly has taken place? I mean, the plans are pretty much the same as we've seen, and there are no significant changes. Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, there are no significant design changes. What has been kind of happening in the background, along with our energy and sustainability work stream, we have been meeting kind of with interagencies to make sure that we're refining our overall stormwater design and the location of the pump station. So what you see here are not kind of major design changes in the overall configuration, but even in that kind of advancing the design from early conceptual to the 10 to 15% is really just been a lot of meetings involving kind of refining the overall kind of needs for some of the underlying stormwater infrastructure and general operations.
And I can ask in these last months, has the reality of the Coast Guard decamping become any more real?
Very good question. It is top of mind and a high priority. I think Jordan will say this from his standpoint as well. We do not have anything more definitive in terms of an MOU or a commitment from the Coast Guard, but we have been in ongoing conversations with them. Our goal is to formalize that in some kind of document that can be written or recorded. And again, it would not be anything as far as kind of like an actual transfer of property. It would more be just kind of like a memorandum of understanding that we're in ongoing negotiations. And even that probably wouldn't come until the end of this year.
Well, that's really exciting. We keep hearing about, but I guess, and within that, I'm just curious, because I'm staring at this multi-level waterfront park, which of course all I see are ferry boats, really.
Right.
Is that still part of the plan, that that park will be more park and less ferry at some future time, if in fact we were to get a hold of the southern tip of the Battery and the Coast Guard site? Is that still in play? In other words, the idea of shifting things south, opening up more parkland?
No, so the kind of imprimatur, the reason that we're actually been able to advance our conversations with the Coast Guard is because of the understanding that it is an essential site in order to complete the coastal flood defense. So in terms of what has actually advanced the conversation is their understanding that this site is critical and that there will need to be some kind of flood defense infrastructure on that site. Beyond that, we're really kind of open to whether or not they also want to continue to be on that site, whether or not it will continue to be maritime uses. But really, the way that we've advanced the conversation has largely to do with the understanding that this is essential to coastal flood defense. That said, I think you all know that public access is always a priority for the city of New York and the waterfront. And so incorporating public access is our, beyond coastal flood defense, our next highest and best priority for the site.
So in the future, you will engage with the community on that site as it becomes more real and have real discussion as to what could be seen there and all those sorts of things, which of course we've had discussions for years on this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think as with all things in this project, it is a community vision and a city vision. And those priorities need to be reflected in whatever is ultimately contemplated. And I think there are many options on the table there.
Can I say, I don't want to promise a speedy resolution here, but I think she ultimately spoke to, what it, why we need it and what it opens up. But we've had conversations with the Coast Guard, with the Department of Homeland Security, to report up to, and we're likely on it because we think it's so important.
Great, thank you very much.
So, yeah.
Open it up to questions, so.
Thanks, Alexis. Of course, the Coast Guard station, from my perspective, is critical. It's critical to being able to conduct any kind of change to what you're calling the multi-level waterfront park and the resilient ferry hub, to be able to get public open space and parkland space, and less of a commercialization, because almost, even though you've renamed it, all of the, basically almost all of it is primarily commercially driven, which is not an enhancement necessarily to the largest growing residential neighborhood in all of New York City. So what we're looking for is, I understand people need to go, but the multi-level waterfront park is really being designed for access to the ferries. It's not being designed for a separate parkland, for example. So that's something that is, I can't say often and early enough, that is missing as a focus in these plans versus being squeezed in afterwards. Can you also I know it's not right to have that discussion until we get a final determination on what's happening at the Coast Guard, but I just have to keep putting it out there. And then can you point out on this slide where the identified preferred pump station location is? And on all slides going forward, could you please have that noted on here?
Yeah, absolutely. So on this slide, you will see, and again, it's just reserved as kind of two white boxes, but basically where the multi-level waterfront park is, and you see kind of the horizontal ferry. There are two areas. I don't know if I can actually point to it, but
I just, if it didn't change, I mean, that's in the same place, yeah. So, did everyone see that right?
yeah, hopefully, Jordan, you're able to point to him.
the ferry boats.
Great. Yep. Thank you. That's it.
It'll be slightly smaller than that.
It's the two white buildings that are in there.
Yeah.
So understanding how those will integrate with public space, and would those move if the ferry terminals move?
No, the ferry terminals were actually not the major criteria in determining the location of the pump station site. It actually largely, not surprisingly, had to do where it could be configured with existing infrastructure, including the interceptor line. And so this is really the optimal site in terms of the underground kind of stormwater and connecting into existing infrastructure.
Awesome. Another question, thank you for putting on the diagram the pier headline. It does make me then again ask if there's any way at the Battery Maritime Building, which is on the National Historic Register, we could take a look at something other than a cement wall, although you do have the flood defense there, as to whether or not something of a lock system, like a Panama Canal locks, could be used to actually preserve a maritime use for that building of any kind, small kind, or any other kind of creative look, instead of cementing a historic building in, is taking a look and pulling out versus pushing in of your flood defense line there.
Yeah, so we don't have our consultants on the line, and I don't want to pretend to be engineer and discuss a lock system. This is something that we raised with them after you previously raised it with us, Tammy, and I will have to get back to you on that. I just don't have today an answer on kind of the feasibility of that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I know that the primary goal of this is to focus on resiliency first and foremost, because that's what you need the funding to get, all this kind of stuff. But I wanted to just ask about Mark Levine's idea about burying the FDR, in terms of if there's any chance we can, or tell us, does he even have enough money to kind of get to the point where it could be put on the slide? Is it a reality, or is it just an idea? Because I know this is beyond idea. This is getting into, you're designing it. I know that's important, idea versus, design, but if it is something that's possible, I think the community would push for if you're going to construct it, do it all at once. And then the other piece is that I just wanted to publicly say again, to our Rose Chang, the Gotham Park with the Brooklyn Bridge is underway. The first acre is open of the 9 acres that the mayor has committed to hopefully eventually opening. And I think that also would be something to tie into the picture of what's going forward. And then just a little side note is that I'm always trying to figure out ways to get the word out. And if you put the plus pool under the Brooklyn Bridge, you could have a lot of people coming to the new plus pool, which the mayor and the governor is very excited about, because we're going to be teaching more people how to swim. You could also do amazing education with all the people that will come to the plus pool to get public interest, not just from New Yorkers, but from the whole world, if it's under the Brooklyn Bridge versus some other place in the city. So that's my soapbox for tonight.
I thank you for raising all of those points, all extremely important and valid to envisioning our overall future of the waterfront. I will just speak to the first point, which is, and I think you kind of had a premonition that this project works with or without FDR, either coming to grade or not. The next step with the FDR would be, as Mark Levine has suggested, is to study the impacts of what it would mean. And so really kind of you know, I think whether or not we're not at a point where we can say the FDR could come down or not. It really is whether or not it should be the subject of further study, and that's independent of kind of the coastal flood defense study. I'll turn it to Jordan to kind of answer the next two questions.
Isn't it also a state road that the city has no jurisdiction over?
Correct. The elevated portions of the FDR are controlled by the state, so that is kind of a complication. I think also the component of this is kind of federal resources. There are programs, including Protect, I believe the Reconnecting Communities grant program, that are for similar efforts, but it's always, you know, kind of limited pool. Even within the city, there are, you know, multiple large infrastructure kind of highway removal projects that are being contemplated. So that is just kind of one consideration, but point is certainly good.
Anybody else from the committee have any questions about the 5I Seaport plans, comments?
I'm going to make a comment.
You went, Catherine McFay Hughes.
And then Rosa Chen.
Oh, Rosa, I'm sorry.
I sent a request for Catherine first.
Okay, great, thank you.
I want to thank everybody for staying on approaching 3 hours. Lots of valuable information was shared. Just following up on the EDC, I assume you're looking at the historic bipartisan infrastructure law for possibly funding some of the ferry terminals as well.
Sure. Yeah, I think Alexis is absolutely, you know, I think that's the big picture here.
Yes.
Is that there's not a lot of, you know, you would think there were kind of, we find ourselves in a significant moment for infrastructure, but this is a relatively new sort of typology of project where there's not $1 billion that level available, you know, kind of funds in the same way that there's for expansion of subway or kind of bridges. And so, you know, we have been, you know, taking advantage of some of the federal resources. We were awarded that $50 million grant from FEMA, but a lot of the programs are kind of capped at that level. For transportation elements, I think that's where we do see kind of larger sums, and you know, that's a great point on kind of ferry terminals where we're able to get a little bit more money. Our hope is that there would be kind of a more regular formula funding for resilience and for coastal projects. That doesn't exist. We are exploring partnerships with the Army Corps and use of the Civil Works program. That's really the only way you start to unlock B level, you know, billions that you would need for an effort like this.
Thank you. Okay, Rosa.
Thank you so much. Awesome discussion, and Wendy, I love you. So I guess I'm going to start with a couple of points that we haven't touched on tonight yet. So number one is just the community facility space. I know that we're not designing it now, but just wanted to underline that that is something that a use that we are super dedicated to as a community to pursuing. So keeping that on your radar. One of the things that I always also stress in this conversation each time we have it is the possibility of built-in parking in the sections of the FIDI Seaport plan that are extending out and being elevated. If there's any possibility that we could find some parking there for all of our placard parking people, especially since emergency services do need to be located somewhere on site anyways. I think that would be a great way to try to take some of the pressure off of our streets and the agency parking issues that we have. Kayaking, I think that we've always, a lot of our community members have always, you know, expressed interest in being able to not only be able to see the water, but to actually engage directly with the water. And as Wendy says, Plus Pool is amazing. But I know that people are looking for, you know, like being able to actually kayak in the water as well. And I know that there's some current issues, but specifically in the location beneath the Brooklyn Bridge. But we would love to know with the work that is going to be going on, I believe that's going to change things anyways. So are we looking at locations where we might be able to integrate that usage on the East River on the Manhattan side. The second last thing is going to be BMCR. Jordan, you know what I'm going to say. Our Aitztora swimming pool, to obscure that 10-foot concrete wall as BMCR separates, you know, what will hopefully be the newest, most awesome park ever in New York City from NYCHA's Alfred E. Smith, we think would be an incredible community give back, and you know, not even a rounding error on BMCR's, you know, budget. And lastly, just something that was touched on before, but I think is still critically important, is as we look at this plan, the ferry terminals are just taking up so incredibly much of our waterfront space. And if there's any way we can just look at how to do that in a less overwhelming way impact on our waterfront, then that would be incredibly appreciated. Oh, okay, so serious last point. I just want to say thank you, because I know that this is incredibly difficult, complex work, and what the engagement that you all have brought to this, especially in comparison to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers plan that we were presented with a while ago. I just want to say that from the community level, to be able to see you really, you know, elevating our involvement in this process and the feedback that we're giving, and you integrating all of that, and really creating spaces for our community rather than populating it with a lot of too much private uses, which I think was a fear at the beginning, has been really, really appreciated. So thank you guys, you're awesome. And I probably,
Thanks, Rosa. Whoops, sorry, Rosa.
Okay, Tammy, you had something else?
I just wanted to.
Not been said before.
On the north side, where you have the Brooklyn Bridge, you have the flood defense line there. I saw Gail, former borough president Gail Brewer, who said to make sure that I said something about the Brooklyn beach and access. It's not a viewing post. It's not an ecological center. It's a post that we talked to about getting down to the water. And that I remind you from Gail specifically, do not forget about her Brooklyn Bridge beach.
I'm sure she did. Slightly more colorful than that.
Slightly. But I will note it and put it in for the record for the Seaport Piers area that connects to BMCR and our opportunity to transform that zone. The community board one's gone on record, as you've heard here, reminding you for active use, not passive, not an ecological viewing, not touch, you know, versus connecting to the water. And so, okay, there's nothing here on it tonight, but I hope to see more of that.
So thanks. Is there more to come here?
We have, I think, presentations on Seaport and BMCR, both very quick, but do touch on a couple elements that were just raised.
This portion,
This
Alexis
portion,
is good.
Yeah.
I just have one question. Actually, I'm just curious. If the Bath Maritime building, I know I once asked this in a different way, were to move, you know, I know you actually even investigated that, taking that ferry terminal and, you know, putting it in the middle of the park, you know, now it becomes like this sort of, you know, relic of Beaux-Arts architecture in some way. Could you actually legally do that vis-a-vis the people who are leasing the space now? Could you, I mean, there's that like, I mean, I think it's the legal question. I was curious, could that ever happen legally? Yeah.
Actually, it has less to do with, and just to be fair, I mean, we haven't done like entire due diligence on the legality of it, but you're right that it is an option that we looked at, and it would be one very difficult to actually preserve a lot of the although it's been done, I mean, but to preserve a lot of the detail. But the other issue is like, where do you really find a like comparable site? I will just say, I do feel like we, from a design and engineering and technical feasibility perspective, did look at, like, could it be relocated? And
Yeah.
it was pretty much a no.
Yeah, it's an intriguing question because it certainly always does seem like it's a little in the way at this point that Les Rosa was pointing out. Anyway, again, many thanks. I think there's nothing new that the community board is saying. We are repeating things that we've said many times. I don't know if we'll do a resolution because I think it's similar to what we had. So we'll look at that. If there's anything new, I don't think there is. So you're hearing it over and over again, the need for the car, pool, you know, the sort of engagement with the water, et cetera. So I think that's the point that's being driven home.
Understood.
Okay.
And we thank you for your engagement, always, honestly. So
Our
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Do a resolution next in the follow-up months, not now. I think it's just 2 months.
Yeah, no, so I don't think there's anything new either. Okay, so, yes, what's next?
Hello, Andrew Robbins, project manager with EDC, along with Kathleen Chan, and yes, working on the Seaport Coastal Resiliency Project. This should be quick, just a little introduction. We finally have our design team, AECOM and FHI Studios are here, and they are still here, which I really appreciate. So just to set the scene as a table setting for Seaport Coastal Resiliency versus the FIDI Seaport Master Plan that Alexis brought up, where Alexis mentioned it quickly that the Seaport Coastal Resiliency Project is a shorter term project. FIDI Seaport will be long scale, long range, large, it's a massive project where Seaport is a little shorter term, next couple decades to prevent sea level rise. And it's also a job that we have funding for now at this point. The Seaport was identified as a low-lying area during the master planning process, that it's a job that can happen in the near term. And but with that being said, we are going to coordinate with the FIDI Seaport master planning process to ensure that we're coordinated and aligned. So next slide. So what is the Seaport Coastal Resiliency Project at 1,000 feet? What you see there on an image is a general run of the flood resiliency elements. I want to say that we still haven't started design yet. This is really just in a very draft state, but it does include proposing raising the shoreline from 3 to 5 feet from the BMCR project to the north, around the Brooklyn Bridge, around to the south around the Imagination Playground. It includes esplanade improvements, ecological enhancements, and green infrastructure to address stormwater management. And big update is we have just recently procured AECOM to as a design consultant. They've recently been mobilized as of last month. And as we go through design process, we'll be engaged early and often for everything. I know AECOM and FHI are going to introduce themselves quickly on the next slide.
So hi, I'm Elizabeth Thompson. I work with AECOM. I'm the project manager for just an incredibly talented team. And we have FHI here, Maura Fitzpatrick and Ryan Walsh. Just to emphasize our commitment to engaging the community. We have a very robust team of incredibly talented people. But we wanted to bring the three of us here today, as well as one of my colleagues on the design side, just to show the importance of kicking this off right and being engaged. Next slide. We've started to look at our first 100 days of the project. Really, it's just laying the groundwork. As Andrew said, we're coordinating with the FIDI master plan. We're going over the conceptual design. We're looking to gather the surveys and all the data collection that you would think of from just an engineering standpoint, as well as an environmental standpoint. We're putting together our matrices of permits, getting everything together to try to keep this project on schedule. We're understanding the importance of the community engagement. Like I said, that's why we're present here tonight, and just starting to come up with that plan. There will also be a public art component to this project, so that's also starting now. We're just, again, evaluating the feasibility of the conceptual designs that were presented early on through the FIDI, and just ironing it out. Next slide.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Ryan's gonna take over, I think, from there, right?
Sure, yeah. So again, I'm Ryan Walsh with FHI Studio. I will be the community engagement lead for this project. As Elizabeth just mentioned, it is early days. We are just in the process of starting to develop our community engagement plans. Though I want to say, I understand that we want to build on the work that's been done on the FIDI Seaport Master Plan. And our approach here is going to be flexible. Our intent is to come out early and often and really tailor the engagement to work with this highly engaged community. Certainly open to ideas for the best way to engage. Throughout this meeting tonight, I have heard repeatedly about site tours. I've heard of just great engagement that's happened. So feel free to share along the way.
I'll just add, there will be an environmental review component of this project, and that's what I'm here to help with because I've been running outreach for environmental reviews for about 35 years. So that's what I'm bringing to the table.
That's all, yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
So questions for here,
Yeah.
Sharon?
I just, I'm a little confused. So you referred to the conceptual design and public art process and all, that hasn't begun yet. So
No.
this is just starting, the 100 days have begun. So I guess I would ask you, well, what do you think would be helpful to you as you begin these conceptual designs in terms of engaging with the community? When you talk about community outreach on the earlier slide, what is that consist of in your minds? Like how can we be helpful?
Sure. So in this early process, we'll want to come out. I imagine that there will be a round of design workshops so that we can get early input. But that could expand to, is it virtual? Is it pop-ups in the neighborhood? Is it site tours? The best way to really get the input that can inform the conceptual design from the beginning.
Well, I think just to answer that, I think that doing what we've been doing for many years now is doing, these public meetings where people can come,
Sure.
at various times of the day and evening and engage with, all you folks there to talk to, much as Jordan's team has done earlier for the bigger picture, and then to come to the community board.
Yeah.
And, do this kind of one-on-one both of those are really helpful.
You can also say that I attended several workshops that EDC has done in the past that were really excellent. I would say EDC and Jordan have done sort of like precedent setting for what great engagement looks like. The Maritime, they did a maritime roundtable that was really with the maritime community with robust outreach, and Diana has great lists of who she's been in touch with, of stakeholders that I think you should not only have access to, but repeat as you're going down the cycle and add to based on what that started with. Because they were robustly attended, it was widely thought of being heard. So there was a lot of really good stuff that came out of both of those things that
Okay, so questions on this portion, Wendy?
So just like basic stuff for me, and I know you haven't designed it yet. So the red line up there is your wall. Is that the idea that you're gonna have to build a elevation wall of X number of feet, the 5
Yeah,
feet?
it's a starting point.
So it's not, so you're not, I'm just in terms of like, that's basically, it's obviously limited funding and it's a limited scope and that type of thing. So I just want to, I think one of the things that would be really important is so that we all understand, like, what are you trying to accomplish? And it's just protection, but obviously not to a Hurricane Sandy level. It's a 5 foot or less level higher than it is now. And it's going to be a wall, and you want to figure out, like, obviously you have to anchor it deep enough. And that's the tricky part there, because it's, nothing's under there that's bedrock. And you have to figure out how to make it work underneath, which is your tricky part. But then the up above part, make it more attractive and artsy for the neighborhood. Am I kind of getting that, or is it a bigger scope and I'm missing some piece of it?
I can take it later on. I think you hit on some key elements. I think it is worth noting that those tiny Gs there are gates, or at least spots contemplated, because it's important for the kind of porosity in getting to the waterfront. So it is not kind of a monolith wall. You did hit on the point, this is contemplated in the same way that, the battery was designed to address sea level rise in 2100. So it is not kind of much larger structures. But, it's something that we're going to have to do with care, and in specific that tieback, is a unique challenge in dealing with kind of the urbanistic qualities there. And I think that's the work we're going to need to do with all of you over the next year plus.
I definitely want to get your point, but I just want to say, when you're engaging with the public gets very confused about, like, the whole big picture that we're talking about, and then the small scope. And I can't emphasize enough that you need to say, this is not going to protect against Hurricane Sandy. Like, you have to say that like a million times. And you have to say it more than you think you've said it, because people won't hear it. And then you also have to say, this is separate and apart from the FIDI master plan, which doesn't have any money yet to build, which we all want desperately, but we don't have any money to build it. So I just think that those are my words of wisdom, because I will just tell you, even my really good friends that I talk to them all the time about this, they get very confused about what I'm talking about. And
I think messaging is going to be
it's really hard. And people want the big thing and they just want it fixed. And that's not what your project is. So you need to spend way more time than you think. And then the idea is to say, you need to explain to them, like, what's underground is like really tricky for you. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. We're the engineers. And the up above part is like, does it have benches built into it? Is it pretty, is it something that that's the piece that you really need to work through.
Gotta
Okay,
move on.
anyway, yeah,
Sorry,
no, I
Rosa.
totally-
That goes- Okay, so Rosa, great point. Rosa?
Thank you. So a couple of thoughts. I noticed that there are no gates at the end of Peckslip Park. And I'm wondering if there is that essentially going to be a view that gets blocked up or severely impacted? I noticed that all the gate sections are sort of more towards the southern end. Number two is that little dark black thing where the sand beach is that the sort of the get down for Gales Beach? Or is that like a mistake? Then lastly, the section where you did the tie back in right beside Imagination Playground, I know you're not in the specific stage, but I'm just wondering, it didn't seem particularly wide there. So how is that going to work, given that the playground's right there and then also the buildings are there right beside it? And will that impact access to and usability of the playground as you do this work? Because we don't have many playgrounds in our neighborhood.
These are great points, Rosa. Can you address any of this, or are you not at that point? Or I'm a little confused where you are in the design process. Literally, you're like
Just
pen and
started.
pad.
Like, we
So
signed the
what's the
contract, we're here.
fee that was provided to this group to the world at large to answer to this particular site? Is that what happened since we last met? Like, we've seen this plan for years, and I'm just
Correct.
curious, like, since that plan.
There's a process and AECOM was awarded, and so they're initiating the design. And so I would say, that line there was what we used to help secure the FEMA funding. So I think, it's a line. And I think that's when the questions about gates and other locations, that's the work that we're going to start right now, determining, where we need porosity and I think working through all those issues.
And what this conceptual schematic early design, whatever you want to call it, the early design phase that we're in now, how long are you giving that for that and the community engagement on that?
Overall, it's about 2 years for design from from now to the 100%. Elizabeth, I don't know if we have any further detail on the initial conceptual phases.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to look, the first step, I think, for us, that would be helpful for everyone to understand, is we're starting to look below the ground, right? We're starting to study this proposed alignment. There was some thought put into where it was, but it wasn't a full out design. So we're starting to take all the engineering components, the public realm components, right? Making it ADA accessible, keeping in mind the historic district, the views, all that comes together under an umbrella of our conceptual design that we're just starting. So I think the question is, how long are we scheduled to do that? And I think we're hopeful to cut the ground on getting an alignment started to be set, or a little more feasible to have something to speak to in about 3 months.
So at that point, I would think you would come back to the community, whether this is, and.
With an update of where we're seeing feasibility, I think the last thing we
Yeah,
want to do
with
is
real
go to
plans is something we can begin to,
It's a process.
Rose's questions,
Yeah.
to,
Absolutely.
one place versus another. Nancy?
What is the western line or boundary for this project? It's kind of, there's a white wavy line and there's some color.
Oh, that is the, that's 11-foot NAVD. That's 11.
5 point.
That's what we're trying to meet.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
Titanic Memorial Park.
That's the
So-
point we're tying back.
Okay, so there's nothing west of that this falls within this. Okay.
If we can tie there, then we'll create the barrier. Because then it's high up there and we're trying to make it high so that the water doesn't start coming in and flooding.
Well, I live across the street, so I just.
So that's what you're also showing is the water's gonna come on the backside.
Yeah,
it's our back.
That's what we're trying to.
It's a bathtub, so we have to make sure water doesn't get in there. Because once it's in, it's a bathtub.
So I think there isn't a lot to talk about here, except for that we look forward to seeing it. So the meeting board is closed in August, the 3 months would be a July date. If you could think in your minds to schedule this in July at this committee, unless there's some sort of public meeting that you're doing before then. But I do think that the committee would be really interested, and as you know, coming out early is better than late on these things, particularly when you're involved in community engagement. So I really would appreciate that you return in July if you can.
Or September, but not in August. And keep in mind that when you're talking about the playgrounds, and if you go by the year that how people are involved with playgrounds, you got to think of the school calendar.
Yep. So again, another vote for July, I hope.
No, September.
But anyway, just in terms of the early and often, and then we come back in September, maybe that would be an approach. But whatever, I think that would be great. And a tour we would welcome it, Ryan, that you tour us through when you feel fit, because that is extremely helpful to everyone. And again, early on, that would be great. Most of what we've heard tonight are things that actually happen quite later, years into the process. So we'd appreciate that. So thank you. I think, Jordan, we're on to the next. So thank you. This team, it's lovely to meet you. And now we're on to
Next
the
and
next.
last, I believe Parker from BBC, with us and talk through these final slides.
Yeah, and Parker's up.
Yes, hi everyone. Can you hear me? Just want to confirm.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sticking with us. My name is Parker McClure. I'm here to present updates on the Brooklyn Bridge Montgomery Coastal Resilience Project on behalf of DDC and the Program Management Construction Management joint venture of GPI and Jacobs. I just want to say that I'm focusing this presentation on the construction updates. We are in the construction phase of the project. The design phase is over. And I also am focusing on the area on the southern edge of the project down under the Brooklyn Bridge, because that is the part that borders your district. And if you want to learn more information about the things happening in the northern areas, please either review our CB3 presentations, which are all on our website, or you can shoot our CCL a email, which I have our contact information at the end of the presentation. So this is an overview of the project area. As I mentioned, it goes from the Brooklyn Bridge at the southern edge to Montgomery Street at the northern edge. Or I guess it's really east-west there, but I think that a lot of us think of South Street as running north-south because it's along the river. Currently, we are doing in the streets, mostly water main upgrades, utility relocations and upgrades, and then inside of the fenced areas, which on this map are shown as the sort of like hash marked areas, we are constructing the flood wall and floodgates. We are doing micropile installations, which is basically those are going to be the supports for other parts of the flood wall. And then we are also building the interceptor gate building, and soon we'll be building the interceptor gate chamber. Some upcoming activities we have is that and I have a slide on this later, is that we will be closing a portion of the Greenway bike path at the southern edge of the project area, requiring a bike detour, which I'll talk more about later. As always, we are coordinating with the nearby East Side Coastal Resiliency contracts, specifically the Parallel Conveyance contract and the Project Area 1 contract, because they are our neighbors. We are also coordinating with DOT on an ongoing basis to ensure that there is safe greenway access. And then we are also coordinating with the EDC Brooklyn Bridge Esplanade project, which so our project is along the waterfront under the FDR, but it doesn't include the 10 feet immediately adjacent to the water. That is, there's a current ongoing project to rehabilitate the bulkhead there, and that's being managed by EDC between Dover Street and Catherine Slip. We can go to the next slide. Thank you. And so just to highlight again the project need, these photos were actually submitted to us by a CD1 resident who took these after the January storm that was previously mentioned. And so just, you know, this project, sorry, my Siri went off. But you know, this project, we have an urgent need to build this flood protection and build it now. You can move on to the next slide. So these are some photos of the mock-up construction wall or flood wall. So before the team can build the actual flood wall, they need to build mock-ups, have them approved by architects, ensure that they are cured properly, and then have the anti-graffiti coating applied properly. There are a couple different finishes on the wall. On the left two images show the smooth finish, and the one on the right shows the edges where they will have imprinted on them the elevation of the flood wall. There's another finish that's not shown here, which is the wave finish, which if you've been to Stuyvesant Cove Park up in CB6 recently, that's the same finish that the Eastside Coastal Resiliency Project is using. I also want to point out that the majority of this project is not fixed flood walls, it's flip up floodgates, which I've talked about in previous presentations, and we have plenty of renderings of on our website. You can go to the next slide, please. So I know this was, people had a lot of questions about the flood wall tie-in at the last meeting that I presented at. So I wanted to really focus on that for this presentation. So at the top here, you see sort of like a long rendering of the flood wall tie-in. And so I wanted to give context of where exactly this is and what it looks like now, or at least what it looked like last year before we started construction. So the map on the left, it shows the Brooklyn Bridge above, and then the highlighted red area is a portion of an FDR off-ramp that is between Pearl Street and South Street. This area is sort of confusing. It's like a spaghetti bowl of on-ramps and off-ramps for the FDR and the bridge. But it is between, it's sort of closest to Robert F. Wagner Sr. Place, but between Robert F. Wagner Sr. Place and Dover Street, it's the only at-grade portion of a ramp in that area between those two blocks, if that makes sense. And so then if you look at the street view images on the right, the first image, so the ones coordinate to the sort of more inland area of the block near Pearl. And then the number twos coordinate to the South Street side of the block. And if you go to the next slide, I have renderings of what it will look like after, or one construction photo of the tie-in. So that wall already exists. It's the retaining wall for the FDR off ramp. It's the FDR South off ramp in that section. And so in that image, it shows the rebar, which will support the future part of the wall that ties into the existing FDR off ramp. And then the second photo shows the intersection of South Street and this unnamed block that is part of an FDR off ramp, which is currently the edge of the DOT parking lot yard. So the wall is basically replacing the fence in that section, and it's going around an existing trailer, and it's remaining on the sort of south side of the supports for the FDR off ramp. And then the sort of gray area crossing South Street there are flip up floodgates. So the pedestrian circulation is maintained, and you'll be able to pass through this area on either side of South Street once the project is completed. So I hope that this helps. I know it's still a confusing area and intersection, but truly the wall is replacing what is currently a fence for the DOT lot, and does not really encroach on the space on the other side of the FDR off ramp. You can go to the next slide. So then moving on to the Greenway closure and bike detour. So between Dover Street and Catherine Street, or down there it's Catherine Slip, our construction area, as I mentioned, is a little set back from the bulkhead due to the Brooklyn Bridge Esplanade project. But now that the Brooklyn Bridge Esplanade project is starting construction, it is no longer possible for the Greenway bike path to pass through that area between those two streets. So we worked with DOT's bike unit, as well as their borough commissioner's office, to come up with, we had a variety of alignments, and this is the one they had settled on for us to use for a detour. So the southbound detour is from Market Street to Dover Street, and the northbound detour is from John Street to Catherine Street. So we've shared this with DOT, EDC, and DDC for all of their social media channels. We've posted on-site signage. It was supposed to go into effect last week or this week, but due to the contractor having procurement issues with some of the signage, it probably won't be fully in place until next week. But pedestrians will still be able to get through the area. It's just that there wasn't a safe path for bikers. We just are strongly encouraging people to seek alternative routes and use their own discretion. Bikers can still ride in the street, although we don't advise it because there's a lot of construction activities happening along South Street. And we encourage them to either use this detour or use the alternate routes, which are in the sort of lighter green color on this map. And you can go to the next slide, please.
Parker, I don't mean to rush you along, but, if there's any, no.
This is the last slide.
All right, great, thank you.
So these are our resources. You can go to our website. It's nyc.gov/BMCR. As I mentioned, our wonderful community construction liaison, Marcia Guido, can be reached at this phone number listed here or by this email address. Now that it's getting warmer, we're going to start doing tabling in the community again. We present bi-monthly at CB3 Parks Committee meetings. And we also have an inquiry tool on our website where you can submit questions and comments if you just go to our website and then go to our contact page. And that is all. Thank you.
That one I hadn't seen, so that was really helpful. Thanks. Okay, I see Rosa Chang. Got a question?
Yes,
Flex
definitely. Hi,
cities.
Parker. Nice to meet
Hi.
you. So quick question regarding the routing. Well, okay, so first I have to talk about the Aixator swimming pool under BMCR. Hopefully you already know about that. So we'd like the swimming pool, please, instead of, well, not instead of, but to obscure the 10-foot tall concrete wall, which is not a great thing. But I recognize that it needs to exist. And so what can we do that's a community benefit for us that really won't cost you very much? That's number one. Number two, that bike route is insane just because, okay, so you know how you mentioned the spaghetti of on-ramps and off-ramps. So they all happen to converge right on Pearl Street. So where you were, can we go to the slide that shows the bike rerouting, please? Because that is just like death and mayhem waiting to happen, frankly. And I don't know how else I can say it, because at Pearl Street / St. James Place, where you are having the bikes go in both directions, I was there just a couple of days ago, and there were no less than 4 traffic, believe it was 4 traffic enforcement officers there, you know, whistling and yelling and like doing all of that stuff, because all of the on-ramps and off-ramps happen to coalesce right there. So if you're also adding both ways cyclists to that mix with all these other cars that don't quite know where they're going, and then cyclists that tend to be a little more New Yorkerish and aggressive, that is dangerous. It's already one of the most dangerous areas that we have in our neighborhood. Then to add that there, I don't understand. I highly strongly advise against this routing on that specific intersection / street / like death zone.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep. No, thank you. And we just presented this also to CB3 on Thursday, and they were also strongly opposed to the alignment of the bike lane. I will say that we had an alternative route which that we had worked out with DOT prior, that had people on East Broadway and Park Row, which already have like existing bike lanes, and even partially on Park Row, a separated 2-way bike lane. But because of DOT's Park Row project that is starting up, they ultimately moved the bike lane here, which we were not happy with. I will bring back to DOT the community responses we've received at this meeting and at CB3 to try and figure out another solution. But this was the DOT, this was their direction for us to use this route instead. And despite our pushback, this is what they told us to do. I will also add that we are adding more not only signage but also striping for this, so hopefully that will improve some of the safety. I know it's not ideal, but this was at the direction of DOT. Yeah.
Parker, I'm just gonna say, I really wish DOT would have mentioned this. We just had a meeting for the Chinatown Working Group about Park Row Plaza and Kim Lau Square, and CB3 just had a meeting and presentation of it. And we're getting one of the executive committee, and St. James Place is the only truck route connection for commercial deliveries coming from Chinatown, realistically, as well as the main car path. So I find it.
Right.
Okay, just commenting.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the comments. And
It's the death trap.
Yeah.
As someone who drives and gets off in a car,
Yep.
there has to be a person, like that person has to be directing traffic, otherwise no one knows. The signs are terrible, the lights are terrible, the timing is terrible. If you add bikes into that, it's just gonna be
terrible.
It's got like, guts, blood splattered everywhere. It's the worst place to put bike lanes.
And I just wanted, I do have a conversation, Parker, with some of the commercial, small businesses that are right at the bottom there of the Seaport District, you know, especially like over by Cowgirl Seahorse and Fish Market and places like that. And they talked a lot about the difficulties that they're having not only with the construction, but the deliveries and the signage and people access. So if that's a conversation, not tonight, but that maybe we can take offline about improved signage and, you know, letting people know what's open and encouraging traffic in productive ways, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to have those conversations.
And I just want to say that we also have like 10,000 seniors that live in vicinity of this exact intersection, and many of them have mobility issues, and so they actually cross with walkers and wheelchairs, and so this is a major concern because the bikes, as they're speeding past them, that's going to be problematic when they already don't have enough time to make the light on this intersection because it's extra long. I just so object to this. It's so dangerous, so dangerous.
Comments on this part, but I think you've heard loud and clear, this is obviously an issue that needs to be reviewed carefully. And I know you and your team will do that. So anybody else from a different issue for the meeting board? Without seeing any hands, are there any hands?
I don't see any hands, but Parker, I'd love to see more pictures.
Okay, I'm calling it a night. I thank you all. It's just, you know, incredibly, I hope you better understand why it is, Ellen, will repeat, really helpful when we divide up these presentations between committee times, because you can see that we kind of flew through this and really were making it under 4 hours. So in the future, I would really ask that we figure out a way to group this differently. But for the time being, all I can say is a million thanks for having done this. And it's always really interesting and helpful. I think we'll have a resolution likely. I don't know what the committee will say, but on certainly on the Battery Park City Authority stuff, which is all new and where we, I think, have quite a few things to say. Probably after the next meeting with the committee, feel that's the best approach. Maybe nods here. So that, Jordan, do you have any summary farewell comments you want to make? Otherwise, I'm saying good night.
And keep on doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for staying.
Yes, well, I think that's true. Okay, and we'll take it. Thank you. All right, good night all.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much, Parker.
Thank you, everyone.
I just hope I'm alive when this is all finished.